a glutton for punishment. What can I say?
I certainly can. Good morning. Oh, no, they're not talking. Hey, Chad, can you talk to me real quick? Wonderful. Yes. Thank you. They had to turn down my IFB. I was going deaf.
You promised me they'd be on your best behavior.
I promise other people to do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I say, hi, I'm Mike Joyce. Get me off this single.
It's a Geo if he showered today, but...
FanDuel TV's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
And the big horse was on display in the saddling paddock here at Keeneland Flightline with paparazzi in tow, getting a little schooling prior to the World Championships this weekend. And Happy Sabre was back on track this morning after missing a day of training. We'll have an update on Todd Bledger's Classic Hopeful a little bit later on. And Frankie Dettori entering the California portion of his David Beckham-esque career. We'll talk to him later on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. And I've been wanting to say this all week to our director. Chadlington, cue the rooster. Welcome to the final day of Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. There he is, Dwayne Lucas on his pony, 87 years young, and still the coolest man on the racetrack, as we are here for our final morning before the World Championships begin here tomorrow at Keeneland Racecourse. Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Joyce, and I'm here trackside at Keeneland for the final episode of Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Hard to believe it's finally here, but that doesn't mean the news isn't coming in. Sitting with Christina Blacker and Simon Bray. Christina, we had some word. Happy Sabre was going to miss some training yesterday. He's back on track. We're going to have an update on that later today. But at this point, everything's done. Everything's done.
Hopefully the trainers can just enjoy it from this point forward. But you know those nerves are settling in. You know more so than anybody. Yep. You come up to a big weekend, big race day. And as soon as you see your horses training well on the Wednesday and Thursday, you almost wish it was already race day. You kind of just want to get it over with at this point.
Yeah, because there's a span there of 48 hours where all the heavy work is done. Then you've got the gate schooling. Then you've got the paddock schooling. You just don't want something to go wrong, you know, at any point. But there's always an element of risk when you bring those things into the equation. Again, a trainer's job is to play defense. It's just to stop bad things happening at this point.
Well, look, we are on our last day of all the hard work, you would say, as well, as this is the final episode, once again, of Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. It's been very eventful, and we've had some great work from our reporters. I was one of them yesterday, but look at this cast of characters we have assembled. Andy, of course, on pony, Michelle Yu, Scott Hazelton, Rishi Prasad, Kate and Bradar. But we start with Joaquin Jaime, who's been on the backstretch, Rice Road, all week long. Joaquin?
And, Mike, it was another day that started at 6 a.m. for Flightline today as soon as the track opened. Flightline went to the track at 6 a.m. John Sadler told me that he had another routine gallop today. The gallop, the distance was 1.25 miles. After he galloped 1.25 miles on the main track, he came back to the barn. They walked him around the shed row for just a little bit. After they walked him on the shed row, they brought him out to the Ross track and they gave him a bath. That was slightly different today because this morning is one of the cooler mornings that we've had during our Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup shows. Since it was so cool today, they didn't give him his normal bath. They just sponged him off, and as soon as they sponged him off, they went ahead and put him back in the barn, and Flightline is done for the day. He's been here for 11 days now. He got into town on October 23rd, and everything has been incredibly routine for the John Sadler team back here at the barn. And Scott and Rishi, one thing that John Sadler did yesterday was they took him to the paddock. He schooled at 10:30 in the paddock. John Sadler told me that he is not going to do that today. When I asked him why, he just said, I saw everything that I needed to see yesterday. He schooled so well in the paddock that I'm not going to take him back today. So Scott and Rishi, unfortunately for the racing fans, they will not be able to see Flightline later today at 10:30 in the paddock, but just another routine day for Flightline back here on Rice Road for trainer John Sadler, guys.
Yeah, we were standing right there with John watching him school. He liked the fact that he was taking it all in. He wanted him to stop and take a look at it. And he also commented, Rishi, that it was almost recreating race day because of the fact that there were so many folks out to see Flightline.
There were a lot of horses in the paddock. There were a lot of people in the paddock, as you rightly point out. And John Sadler said, this is exactly what he wanted. It's exactly recreating a race day experience. So thankfully, the horse seemed to take it all in his stride. And he paused and he stopped and he looked around a few times. And John Sadler said, let him do it. Let him enjoy that. Let him take it all in so that when he turns up on Saturday, he knows his surroundings.
you just get a sense that this horse's confidence is building because of the attention that he is getting. He has really become a superstar in so many respects when it comes to this great game of thoroughbred racing. We're back at the training track. We're going to be keeping our eyes on the Euros. As we promised you yesterday, Rich will have an opportunity to catch up with Charlie Appleby to discuss his big charge. And those are the boys in blue. And speaking of a boy in blue today, we're making you do all things Kentucky this morning. So you start with a UK T-shirt to get things rolling here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
Go Wildcats. Is that what I say?
Go Wildcats. Go BBN. Big Blue Nation. Let's go to Michelle.
Yo.
Thanks, guys. I've gone back to the well of plenty. I'm up here at the starting gate. We had so many Breeders' Cup horses schooling up here yesterday, and we got to talk to a ton of connections. Right now, actually, there's a couple people pulling up in a golf cart, so I'm sure we're going to be harassing someone very, very soon. And I just want to add my own Flightline schooling story since everybody else has one. I thought it was cool right before we came in. People started to mob the end where he would come in, and the security made everybody back up and all but drew a white line to stand behind, but everybody wanted to be as close as possible to him, and I get chills thinking about it, Kaiten.
Michelle, I can totally understand why. And, you know, if you think of the history of the Breeders' Cup, it was designed as a made-for-TV event, but there's nothing like being here. That's the sentiment of many fans that you see behind me, and yes, more fans than media out. This is the only event you see that happen where the cameras from amateur photographers who are just fans of horse racing outnumber the professional photographers. A number of these fans have been here since early this morning to get a glimpse of Flightline. They've come from as far away as California, Minnesota, everything just about in between from coast to coast, just for an opportunity to root for their favorite horses and get a glimpse of some of them. And I have to say, I feel like a fangirl among them here to have one of the best seats in the house. We'll be trackside as well as the paddock area and maybe catch a few schoolers along the way. But the one who's been right there for all the action on the track, in the paddock, and just about everywhere in between is Andy Biancone. Good morning, Andy.
Good morning, Kaiten. I just can't believe this is our last breakfast show. I feel like this week has just absolutely flown by, and this morning feels especially magical. I mean, there's just a light blanket of fog covering the first turn. There's breath coming off these horses with every step they take, and it's just really ethereal, and it just kind of is a reminder of how blessed we really are to get to experience this wonderful sport and be around these athletes every single day, and just getting to witness horse and rider bonds firsthand, seeing how these horses act every single day as the race day approaches. It's just really special, Kaiten. I'm going to savor every last second of this breakfast show. Let's check in with the guys on the set.
And I think Andy's sentiments really encapsulate what brings all of us to the racetrack, right? Especially the people. Horses are not a job. They're a way of life, and it's a way of life that people dedicate themselves to because they can't imagine other ways. That love of the animal. And I think sometimes in the intensity of competition in the game, we forget that.
Right.
But I think that was a really, really poignant point that she made.
Well, and I think with Andy's reporting, you really feel how much she loves the horses and just loves, you know, being around them. And we all feel that way. But she's the one of us that is the closest to them out there on the pony. And it's also to the point, Simon, where talking about Flightline and the Classic, everybody is such a fan of the game and of this horse that even if you are a competitor running against him, we're all looking forward to what he will do on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we all go out in the evening. I was at a local restaurant last night, and it was just person after person after person, including connections of other horses. All they talked about was Flightline. And I said earlier this week, Mike, I think if we walk out of here Saturday with Flightline winning by 2 lengths, which is a great feat in winning the Classic in and of itself, it's going to be a disappointment for a lot of people because they're expecting the blowout performance.
Let's check in with Michelle Yu.
Thanks, Mike, up here at the starting gate, and already we have some action going on. Tyler's Tribe actually schooling in the gate. I think earlier on the week you guys got to see some of him, but this is my first view of Tyler's Tribe. So getting to see him come in, and he was really well-behaved going in there. He stood beautifully, and now he's heading out. It was a very quick in and out process for him. So once you're a pro, I guess you don't have to stand in the gate that long.
I'll tell you what, he's more than a feel-good story, that horse. He stacks up on Thorograph sheets. I think that is a horse. He might get bet because the story's so good, but he's definitely one to look at from a serious wagering standpoint.
I listened to Jerry Brown's audio seminar yesterday,
Oh,
which
I'm
I know
do that
we
today.
were. Yeah, it's there. It's online. It's ready. I think we were promoting it a little bit throughout the afternoon yesterday on FanDuel as well. And I personally, after watching Tyler Stribe's turf workout, didn't love the way he handled it the first time. I think you saw a little bit of progress in the second work on turf. But listening to Jerry and listening to him kind of break down the speed figures, he really is so much faster than the rest of the horses in there. So if he handles it, he's gone.
Yeah.
My opinion on him, he didn't look. He looked.
But it's a big if.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. He looked lost in his first workout. He looked better in his second workout. But I'm telling you, I promise you, if they'd put another horse with him, he would have looked like a rocket ship in there.
Right.
They can't put another horse with him because he's just so fast. So he was just a little green, little experience. I don't think you'll see any of that when he gets in the starting gate.
He's a serious horse. Andy Biancone right now with a trainer who has a serious horse as well. We're waiting Flightline to hit the track. And Andy's standing by with John Sadler right now.
The rail is the best place to stand, Mike, because you find guys like John Sadler watching every single set. So it's just the perfect opportunity to catch up. John, I feel like when Flightline first arrived here, his first day galloping, he seemed a little more relaxed, and he's just, since his work, gotten a little bit more on the bridle. Do you think this is character of him?
Yeah, he was probably a little tougher today than he has been, but it's, it's building up to Saturday. So just another gallop today, and for people that want to know, he'll do the same thing tomorrow. So the other thing I wanted to tell people is he's not going to the paddock today. He was so good yesterday, doesn't need to go back. So he'll just be in the barn resting, and everything's going good.
Do you think he knows a race is coming? Like, do you think he feels his race?
He's a pretty smart horse. It's those are kind of unanswerable questions, but we're happy with him. He looks good, so we'll leave it at that.
And how are you feeling? I mean, the day is approaching. What are your thoughts and feelings as the day approaches?
I'm good. I've been doing this a long time, so, it's horse racing, and these days get built up going into it, but I just try to stay steady. That's my job.
Last question, John. I know there were a lot of people watching Flightline in the paddock yesterday. How did you feel about that?
That was good. I mean, we really love that because we wanted to, simulate a little bit of what could be on the big, it'll be 10 times, 100 times that on the big day. But I was really happy to see so many people in the paddock, a lot of photographers, and it was just a really cool experience.
I love it. So when you said on air that Flightline would be schooling at 10:30, it was a bit of a setup to get a crowd.
Oh, absolutely. We wanted as many people over there. The only thing we didn't have somebody dropping a tray of glasses or something. But if we could have had somebody drop some plates, even better.
I love it. This is why John Sadler is one of the greats. Thank you so much, John. Have a great morning.
Okay, you too. Say hi to your dad.
Thank you. Hi, Dad.
Great interview. Great interview.
I love just how open John Sadler has been with the media, and to Andy's point, throughout the interview there, going ahead and sharing the news about the schooling yesterday, about not schooling today. A lot of people may not remember that before John Sadler was a very successful racehorse trainer, he was a very successful show jumper. And I, as a child, would go to clinics and watch him as like an exhibition, jumping 6-foot jumps just to teach younger people how to become a better show jumper. This is a man that's a horseman from day one across multiple disciplines and at the highest level of each.
And I think, to get a horse like this as a stage of the career, I think it benefits both participants, John and him, because you have a young trainer, first go around, and it's a whole different experience. The media affects you. You heard him there. He goes, I've been doing this a long time. I mean, he can handle it. There's no problem there. And this was him earlier this morning, and he's just he's an absolute tank. He's a beast, and he's just, he looks like he just towers above everybody else physically. We often say, this horse is good, he's athletic, he moves well, but he's the total package. What we were saying earlier this week, you take somebody off the street in a lineup, they're going to pick this horse out. He just stands out.
Let me ask a question. I'm going to ask it to both of you. I'm going to ask you first, Christina. Have you ever seen a better horse than Flightline?
No, definitely not. I mean, when you consider what he did in the TVG Pacific Classic, and then take that in the context of that was his first 2-turn race. He went from a 1-turn mile to a 2-turn mile and a quarter. He beat the Dubai World Cup winner by 19 lengths on that occasion. It's interesting to me also to look at the speed figures. That was his first two-turn race. You look at the -8 that he ran on Thorograph. That's the fastest Thorograph figure ever given to any horse. And theoretically, being that it was his first two-turn race, that should be the floor. That should be where he builds off of for the race coming up this weekend.
Simon, same question to you. Have you ever seen a better horse than Flightline in your whole life?
No, I don't think so. I don't think in my life.
Not Frankel, not Cigar, not Spectacular Bid.
No, I don't think so at this point. I mean, the Spectacular Bid, that's a little different discussion. We'll wait till Saturday night for that, and maybe next year. But I've seen great individual performances. Up until this point, I always, went on this network and said Arrogate visually was one of the best performances I've seen because he overcame it. I think Beholder in the Pacific Classic was a one-race visually impressive. But as a small body of work and what he did last time, no. And he's got all the tools that go with it. And, earlier, before you got here, Mike, this show's been going, on and off for 16 years. There's two horses that stood out to me, and they're identical in the way they move, maybe not in the way their race records are going to play out eventually. American Pharaoh and this horse. Absolutely identical. The way they move, the way they get over the ground, the kind of biomechanics they exhibit. Very, very similar.
He's just incredible to watch. He's been basically hitting all the marks for the last 5 weeks. All of those works have gone according to plan. So much credit goes to Juan Leyva, who's aboard him right now and has been aboard for each and every work, each and every gallop in the morning. He's controlled, but he's on the muscle. He feels good, and he's so far hitting all his marks.
And I don't think people understand the work that's gone into this horse. I mean, I've kind of harped on this. It's been my thing, the works comparison from where he was a year and a half ago to now. And, how he looked like life is good. A year and a half ago, he looked like life is good today. A little more aggressive. And I think that's what separates him. All these horses at that level have some sort of similarity. They're very talented. They've got great biomechanics. He's got the mind. He's learned. He's a quick learner. He was a young, aggressive horse, wanted to pull the rider out. As he's got older, he's accepted his lessons. And that's what separates the good from the greats.
Well, I mean, you mentioned Life is Good. Let's take a look at Life is Good. If it wasn't for Flightline, we might be talking about him as a generational type horse. He's that talented. Going into the Dubai World Cup, we thought he was going to take the mantle of best horse in the world and run with it. Now, that day he may have had a distance limitation. We've had that discussion. But going back to the 1.25 miles, they're going to try to do what's hard, and Life is Good. How's he been this week and today just, out for a morning gallop?
If he's going to do it, and if he's going to get the 1.25 miles, it's going to be over a surface like we have here at Keeneland, especially if he can get to the rail, which it looks like he can. He's very fast. He's drawn inside of Flightline. He looks great this morning. This is actually the most controlled that he has been. And so perhaps that little bit more of a spirited gallop yesterday kind of took the edge off him. And that's a good thing for a horse like this, who is as intense and as high energy as he is, to try and just keep him with all 4 feet on the ground and as controlled as possible coming into a race. And that's also why he goes so early, him and Flightline. You're trying to just keep them in that early routine and without doing too much right before the race.
What are we, four days post-workout? And each day you've seen a progression. If we put video from every single day after his workout, this is the best one. He's got some energy out of him. I think that tactically it's going to be a very interesting race. To me, I was going through this in my head last night. There's a scenario. Every time Flightline goes down the backside, works, gallops, race, he switches to the right lead. I mean, he wants to, it's game on, he wants to go. My concern would be those two kind of hook up. But I'm just hoping Flightline can tuck in Life is Good. And then the other thing, I think it's going to be interesting down the stretch. I think he's a little straighter now through the stretch. But if he drifts out a little bit, I mean, I'd love to see Flavian Pratt, if he's got horse, just, duck up the inside.
Yeah.
I mean, it would look so great. I mean, it'd be like a picture-perfect ending.
I think the counter to that argument is it might not matter. Flightline's just that much better than everybody else. Let's check in once again with Scott and Richie as they're standing by. Scott?
Yeah, we're still down here at the training track, and yesterday we didn't have any horses coming out at 7 a.m., but again, back to that schedule. We saw the Platinum Queen and the Midnight Mile coming out here as well together. And as we've seen, Rich, just very easy bit of training, a spin around the training track and then back to the quarantine area.
Yeah, Platinum Queen had her usual red hood on just to try and keep her nice and settled, keep her temperature down. The Midnight Mile, I have to say, she's been the one to take the eye out of the pair for me because she looks really settled and relaxed. She's a gorgeous-looking filly as well. She's only run twice so far in her career, Scott. Coming into the Breeders' Cup, I would have said that if you looked at the two fillies, both trained by Richard Fahey, and thought, well, which one had a better chance in their respective races, races, you'd have thought the Platinum Queen. But given the circumstances of the Platinum Queen's draw and the fact that she's going around a bend for her first time, there are a few question marks about her. Whereas Midnight Mile, she's run twice. She's won once over 6 furlongs and once over 7 furlongs. And each time she's shown, well, certainly from her first to second start, enormous amount of progression. She's actually bred to be better over a little bit further, a mile, maybe get even 10 furlongs in time. So I wouldn't be surprised if she runs a big race. Of the 2 horses in their respective races, I'm leaning towards Midnight Mile now, Scott.
10-1 on the morning line. Daughter of No Nay Never, Galileo influence on the dam side. First ham, Ruby Tuesday, and she's 2 for 2 in her career. As Rish mentioned, Wayne Lorden gets the opportunity to ride this filly. He's never ridden her. This will be the 3rd race and 3rd different rider in which she has on her back. So that'll take place tomorrow. Midnight Mile tomorrow. Race number 8 on Future Stars Friday. All right, Rish he's geared up. He's got the UK T-shirt on. What do the folks do at home back in the UK when they've got their respective...
if you're supporting, say, Manchester United or whatever, you kiss the badge. So do I do the same thing with this, or is it just simply wear it?
You can just kiss it. There you go.
Kiss the cats.
Cats go.
Come on, the cats. Go for the cats.
And so you've got go for the cats. Yes, that's one that's going to stick for sure. And so we start with the T-shirt, but we also have a tradition here. We love our beef jerky in America, and Kentucky makes some amazing beef jerky. This is Mingy. It's out of Paris, Kentucky.
Not a great name, if I'm entirely honest.
Well, the logo's great. It kind of reminds me of you. You do have the ring. Holly's put the ring in your nose quite a long time ago. So this is from Kentucky. We've spent a lot of our per diem on this beef jerky, and he's literally not joking. He has never had beef jerky.
It's just beef with some salt on it.
Some salt and some seasoning. You might be a little parched after, because it is on the dry side.
Very salty.
What do you think?
It's an acquired taste, I'd say, for the moment.
An acquired taste?
Well, no, I was just taking it in my mouth.
Keep chewing. Your jaws are going to be a lot stronger following this.
I've never chewed anything like this before.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best.
Is it supposed to be a bit spicy?
No, this is the original flavor.
I don't know what I've just eaten then.
Well, we could go spicier. We should have got the spicier one.
I wouldn't say this will be in my top 3 things of Kentucky so far. This I like. I'm not. It's still here.
It's like he's got a lipper in right now. A Mingy lipper out here this morning at the training track for Rish. Keep chewing. Keep chewing.
We're gonna have to work on that Kentucky colloquialisms too. I don't think you kiss the badge here.
Well, you can take that T-shirt home, United Kingdom. I mean, that's
there we go.
Yeah.
People would think they rebranded the British Isles. At any rate, we were talking about Happy Saver. We've heard the news yesterday. Came out today for a jog. It's a hiccup. We'll get more from Joaquin in just a minute, but let's take a look at him as he hits the track.
Yeah, this was earlier this morning, so mostly, out for a walk, then just kind of a nice jog going the wrong way around the racetrack. Simon, you never want anything to go wrong, obviously. You're always, holding your breath as a trainer, but now this news just in the last couple of days, having a quarter crack. Horses do run quarter cracks all the time. You get it patched up, you move along, but it's just a wrinkle in those perfectly laid plans.
Yeah, it's not ideal. We'll get a report from Joaquin. I'm going to get more into what a quarter crack is because it's the left hind foot there. So the left hind foot, I'll explain what it is in just a second because on face value, people hear that. They hear, oh, he's got a quarter crack. He might run Saturday. You can't equate an injury with that. But, I mean, there's difference in severity as a quarter crack. You can from a 1 to 10, 10 being the horse can't even bear weight on it, to a 1 where it can be patched and run.
Well, Joaquin's been all over the news all week long, and he's going to update us on the news with Happy Saver. Joaquin?
Hey guys, Happy Saver. He drew post position number 3 in a field of 8 in the Breeders' Cup Classic. As you guys noted, he did not train yesterday because of that quarter crack he is battling in his left hind foot. I caught up with Hall of Famer Todd Pletcher a few moments ago and asked him what Happy Saver did today. First thing Todd noted was that this is a quarter crack that he's been battling for a few weeks. He said he popped a quarter crack about 3 weeks ago. They patched the quarter crack at the time, but he said that patch then unraveled. They had to go ahead and patch it back up. They took care of that recently, and they sent it back to the track today. He hit the track as soon as the track opened, just like Flightline at 6 a.m. Happy Saver went out for a gallop today. Todd Pletcher reported to me that he galloped just fine over the main track. They brought him back to the barn. He pulled up fine. He cooled out fine. So Todd reported that everything is okay, at least for now, guys, with Happy Saver in this quarter crack that he is battling in his left hind foot. But he did note, guys, that this is something that they're going to still have to monitor very closely over the next couple days, as we're just a few days out from this Breeders' Cup Classic on Saturday.
Okay, Joaquin, thank you very much. So, Simon, you were going to explain a quarter crack to us.
Yeah, exactly what a quarter crack is. It's a slight injury to the foot. My best analogy would be it's like a split in your fingernail. So there can be all kinds of different severity. If you just split the fingernail and it's a topical or cosmetic split, it's not going to be an issue. You can go ahead, patch it, and run. But if you split it, it opens up and it gets down to the soft tissue, there's a chance of it getting infected, blood gets in there. So let's take a look at exactly what a quarter crack is. This is not Happy Saver, by the way. This is just a stock photo. So on the left-hand side of the screen is the quarter crack, and it starts at the top of the coronet band. You see where that person's thumb is? That's where it originally starts, and sometimes it can start in just the smallest area, a tiny little crack, and it's a vertical crack that runs down the hoof. They call it a quarter crack because it's in the back quarter of the horse's foot. And like I said, if it's just a cosmetic split, then you can go ahead and patch it. But the problem with it is, Mike, it's the concussion. You can see that shoe under there. Every time the horse's foot pounds on the grass, on the dirt or the grass, it can split that crack open. That crack can run all the way down. So you want to stop that force from driving up in there. Sometimes trainers will three-quarter the shoe. They'll cut this piece of shoe off, so there's a little more give there, and there's not as much concussion on the horse's foot. What causes it? Brittle hoof wall, unbalanced shoeing, poor conformation. And then over here to the right is the quarter crack patch. So now it's all patched up. What they do is they put acrylic epoxy resin over there, and that binds this crack together so there's no movement. Otherwise, there's a shearing movement in that horse's foot. It becomes very painful, and if the horse exhibits lameness. But what the patch does, it creates stability in the hoof. And what you have to do is you have to monitor that patch each and every day. It literally is a day-to-day process.
And just to be clear, there's no chance he's feeling any pain if he's out there jogging and whatnot. They patch it up and he's good to go. And if he was experiencing pain, they would see it.
Yes, you would see it, and that's the first sign of it. Exhibits lameness. There's two things that cause the pain. Say this is the crack. You get the shearing motion like this, instability in the foot, and then when there's a crack there in between those two in the hoof wall, it exposes the soft tissue. And the dirt gets in there and gets infected. Very low blood supply in the horse's foot. That's why it always takes forever for horses' foot injuries to heal. And it can be very, very painful. So it's like a split in your fingernail that if it really opened up, it can be very painful. You've had those, like if you you cut your nails too low.
No, I get manicures.
You get manicures.
But, yours look better than mine.
Yeah, no, I've got wonderfully soft hands.
If you cut your quick too low, and you're not weight bearing here, it only hurts if you bang it or you push it. Can you imagine on the foot if it's just the concussion each and every day?
So that is something that will be monitored. Hall of Famer Todd Pletcher, one of the best horsemen to ever throw a saddle over a horse.
That was great, Simon. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, America.
Oh,
we're doing compliments already?
Yeah, that was so good.
Good job.
Thanks, Mike.
At any rate, if you want to use some of this intelligence that Simon is spitting over here, we encourage you to open an account with FanDuel Racing, and you will get a no-sweat first bet. That's right, a no-sweat first win bet up to $100. Use the QR code on screen, or go to racing.fanduel.com for more details. Under new management, Twitter is still functional as we take a look at some of the tweets, and they're all Flightline. We'll see
Does Flightline have a check? Does he have to pay for his check?
I think he can afford the $8 a month. Got that in the bankroll. At any rate, so Flightline, we'll talk a little more of the social media coming up with the big horse and more on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup right after this.
If you want to be a part of all the NFL action, no one gets you in the game like FanDuel. This Thursday night when the Eagles take on the Texans, FanDuel is giving all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay. Just place a same-game parlay on Thursday night's game, and if you don't win, you'll get it back in free bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book.
TVG's free handicapping tools are at your fingertips. Access expert picks, both found on the app and at tvg.com. Find selections in either the promotions header, under the More tab, or on the race page for select races. And follow your experts to get notified when new picks are available. Then use the bet ticket to play along. Check out TVG's expert picks, both on the app and at tvg.com.
Introducing Giftbox, winner of the Grade 1 Santa Anita Handicap. He's a 3-time graded stakes-winning millionaire with 4 triple-digit buyers and a 4 Ragazin to his name. He proved himself early as a graded stakes place 2-year-old, and now his career as a stallion is just getting started. From the first crop of the leading sire Twirling Candy out of a multiple graded stakes producing mare. Giftbox, only at Lane's End.
FanDuel TV's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
Go, 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 go. Pimps in the crib, mom. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. Drop it like it's hot. When the pigs try to get at you, park it like it's hot. Park it like it's hot. Park it like it's hot. Pop it like it's hot. Pop it like it's hot. Pop it like it's hot. Got the Romeo
Wow. You want to talk about skills? I wish the Letterman show was still around for stupid pet tricks.
Andy was catching gummy bears off the set from Todd Schreck.
Yes. Well, Michelle
Earlier
is
this
catching it and then spinning it back and catching it in her hand, which isn't very sanitary,
Andy's
but quite
just
impressive.
Going full sugar rush, eating all the candy.
So I'm the only.
Did she miss one? I don't think she missed one.
I don't think she missed one.
Andy got 9 and Michelle got 8. And by the way, they're not gummy bears, they're Whoppers.
Oh, wow. My favorite, actually. But I'm the only talent on this whole crew. What's there, 12 of us out here that hasn't done a TikTok yet? And I've still got to live up to that.
I'll find you one before we're done today.
Yet to
do
do
one live on the air.
Well, I don't know about that.
We'll give you a beat right now. We'll coach you up. Right now, Michelle Yu standing by with Gabby Gaudette is standing by with a very special guest.
So happy to be joined by President Shannon Arvin, and things are a little different from the last time that the Breeders' Cup was right here in Lexington, Kentucky. Shannon, you became president-elect September 1st, 2020. Can you put into words what it was like, the Breeders' Cup 2020 that year, especially versus this year?
It really was surreal. That's the word that describes it the best to me. I mean, to be at Keeneland for an event like the Breeders' Cup with hardly anybody here was really surreal. There were actually a lot of people here, the participants, who said, "This is so great. I have Keeneland all to myself. Can we do this again?" And I said, gosh, I hope we never, ever do this again. So it's great to be here on a more normal basis with lots of fans, lots of people who can't wait to get out here and watch the races.
This becoming president is such a huge role in horse racing in the state of Kentucky. What was that like for you? I mean, I would imagine there was so much pressure entering that role, first and foremost, but also during a year where there was so much uncertainty going on. Could you kind of speak to that? What that transition was like, not only professionally, but also personally?
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure, and there were a lot of sleepless nights, and there was just a lot of worry because during COVID, we were just trying to keep the show going. We were just trying to be sure there was a September sale, and we were trying to be sure there was a November sale, and submitting plans to the governor to be sure that we wouldn't get shut down. So there was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of teamwork then, and that just grew as our team grew, and that part, there were some silver linings to the pandemic. We got to try things that we wouldn't have been able to try otherwise had it not been a pandemic. And then truly, once we got our team together, our core team together that's here now, I sleep really well. We have the best team. I have the utmost confidence in the people that are here. We work together really well. We have each other's backs, and it's a really fun environment. And I think it sets us up to be successful. You know, I mean, it's you gotta. Nobody does anything on their own, so that team is critical.
I know building a good team, an important team surrounding you, was one of those main goals. Were there other goals that you sat down and thought about before you came into this role, and how did you see those goals through?
You know, I think first and foremost, the safety of the horse. That's definitely something that Keeneland has always stood for. We have been really supportive of HISA. Lisa Lazarus, who's the CEO of HISA, I think our sport is tremendously blessed and lucky that she's at the helm, because what we're trying to do in imposing a national governing body for horse racing, which I think we desperately need. I don't think there's a person on the planet that could do that better than Lisa. She really is working so hard, working with people, listening to horsemen, understanding what she doesn't know, adapting when we need to adapt when she sees that we've gone down the wrong path. So safety definitely has been a huge area of priority, because I don't think that we'll be here for generations to come if we don't have that national oversight. In terms of Keeneland, I think one of our main goals is just to make this fun. This is fun. Horse racing is fun. Horse sales are fun. We want to be approachable, and we want to put on a show that people can really come and enjoy and want to be a part of at all levels.
And I know this was even brought up when I took the stand, but women in important and leadership roles in the industry, Shannon, I also wanted to ask you this. How important is it in your mind to create that path? And are there some things that you have done since you've obtained this role to kind of pave that path for other women, the next generation, to take on those leadership positions?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is knowing that it's not a limitation that you are a woman, you know, that anything is possible if you've got the right skills and if you put in the hard work that it takes. And I think that's really critical. We want all women to know that they can achieve what they want to achieve. We always talk about leaning in, and I think that's really important too, raising your hand. But I think for women, it's also important to know there are times maybe that balance with your personal life, it isn't the time to lean in for your professional opportunity. You know, when my kids are 11 and 13 now, they're a good age for me to be able to be in this role and sacrifice the time at home to do what it takes to do this well. 10 years ago, that would have been a lot more difficult. So I think it's just knowing the right balance, trying to figure that out, and setting a good example. I say this a lot. I don't email people at 1 o'clock in the morning, because then they're going to think that I want them to respond at 1 o'clock in the morning. I think it's trying to lead by example and help people to know that we want them to have that balance. You know, we did something we've never done at Keeneland before. Our team works so hard through the fall. I mean, it is a long September, October, November. And I had talked to some of our team members who hadn't had a vacation in years. So we did a shutdown week in July. We said, okay, this is it. Nobody's working. We'll have one person manning the phone. We'll rotate if we need to be sure we can, you know, keep training open as we need to. But everybody needs a break every once in a while.
Because this is a very time-consuming career. One quick question. We don't have much time, but what do you want to be known for? What is that legacy that you want to be known for at Keeneland and the horse racing industry?
I think at Keeneland, all of our team sees ourselves as stewards. We want to leave Keeneland better than we found it. And that's it. I just want to leave Keeneland better than we found it.
Thank you so much for the time, Shannon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shannon, for your time. And Keeneland is in great hands with her at the helm.
Absolutely, and it's great to just get a closer look there into her personality and her style of leadership. She was the keynote speaker for the Horse Racing Women's Summit pop-up here earlier this week, so many women were able to listen to her firsthand. It's great.
Let's check in once again with our reporter in the field, Kaiten Bradar. Kaiten.
For the second straight year, going to Vegas is going to the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare turf, ladies turf, and We have one of the partners in my racehorse representing all the way from California, Kristen Hubeck. Kristen, first of all, welcome to Kentucky. I understand this is your first visit here. How do you like it so far?
It's been amazing. I couldn't have asked for a better experience so far.
Now, you've been involved with my racehorse since the very beginning. Tell me a little about what led to you jumping in.
I went to the track one day at Santa Anita, and they were out there advertising it, and I didn't think it was real. And then I saw that they had a horse with Richard Mandela named Tiz a Magician. I love Tiz now, and I figured if Richard Mandela would work with them, they must be legit, and so he was my first purchase.
And now, 20 horses later, I understand?
Yes.
What is it that keeps you coming back?
The experience, the friendships I've made. I've gotten to meet the trainers, the jockeys, been in multiple winner's circles. I live near Santa Anita, so I go out for mornings works there. I get to visit with the horses. It's been brilliant.
One of the horses that you've been in the winner's circle with is going to Vegas last time out. What was that experience like? And especially understanding that with that victory, she was going back to the Breeders' Cup.
It was a really nervous day, to be honest. I was really hoping she would do well. She was, we weren't sure how she was going to run, but Phil had her primed and ready to go, and watching her do what she does the best way she can, it was an amazing experience.
And what are your expectations this time around? You were there last year when she competed in the Breeders' Cup. She's coming in off the victory. What are you hoping for?
Well, I'm hoping for a better finish than last year. We're hoping she's a little calmer and a little bit happier when she's out there, and hope she just does what she does and runs as aggressively and well as she usually does for us.
Kristen, for those who aren't able to be here, and I know a number of my racehorse partners will be watching, what is the experience of being at the Breeders' Cup like with a horse that you have an interest in?
It's so much more fun because you've got somebody you're actually out here looking for in the mornings. Watched her train in the paddock yesterday. Just to be connected in a very tiny way elevates the experience to a whole new level.
Outside of your interest in the Breeders' Cup, are there any other horses or races that you're focusing in on? I know you mentioned that you saw Flightline earlier today. What did you think?
Oh, he looks amazing, as he always does. And, of course, I've seen him out at Santa Anita a lot. He actually beat one of my racehorses in his maiden win. So I saw him when he first started and have been following him ever since. All the California horses, plus I love watching the Euros when they come over. It's just a great experience.
And how are you going to spend the rest of your time up until the race?
Today I'm going to do a tour here, I think, and then I'm going over to Gainesway later today, and I've already been off to Spendthrift and Lane's End, so I'm filling my days with horse stuff as best I can.
And certain to meet some more of my racehorse partners along the way. It's always a treat to talk to those who are diving into thoroughbred ownership. We wish you the best of luck with going to Vegas, Kristen.
Thank you so much.
My racehorse representing here and represented in the Breeders' Cup, guys.
Just such a great outreach to fans and a way to bring people into ownership.
Well, it's the two sort of cornerstones of what we need in racing, right? Owners and gamblers.
Right.
Not only do they get in the ownership group, but so often their horses are favored because the My Racehorse partners put their money in support of their horses. This one syndicate has managed to bring in and funnel in so many people to the two areas we need most.
And they got some action in Europe as well now. They have some horses in Europe. So it's a model that Australia adopted for quite some time, with the multiple ownership and partnerships, and I think it's finally taken off here.
Yeah, and that was her first interview, and she did a great job, because I don't know if you can hear at home. There's an echo. They're playing us over the big screen here, and they're playing us over the TVs in the breakfast marquee behind us, which brings us, we've got a lot of awards. We had the Antwerp dinner last night. Yep. The Eclipse Awards certainly will be decided by a number of races this weekend. But here on the breakfast show, we're giving out the Most Extra Award, and that's for someone like you over in the breakfast marquee who can bring us coffees, because these are empty, it's cold, and this show is fueled by caffeine. What would you like?
I'll just take a latte, a regular latte. Is
regular
fine.
latte?
2% milk, please.
2% milk. What would you like?
Same, but not regular milk. Anything other than regular milk.
Anything. So a regular milk latte, a funny milk latte.
Milk,
yeah, just no oat milk. We're not drinking carbs. And I'll take a decaf latte as well. So whoever brings us those three coffees, I'm looking at you, people in the breakfast marquee who are all like high-level executives. You get the Most Extra trophy. That'll be right there to tempt you. Right now, let's check in with Rishi Prasad. He's talking to the jockey who may be riding the best chance for Europe in this year's Turf Sprint.
Well, Jason Hart is riding one of the leading European contenders at the Breeders' Cup, and that is Highfield Princess. Jason, just first of all, deal with how good a season she's had to this point, and just how good a horse she is.
Yeah, massive season. The improvement she's shown has been unbelievable, and to think we're at a Breeders' Cup is a bit mad, really.
The improvement she's shown has been remarkable. I've been saying, it was 23 runs before they decided to have a go sprinting. She's running over 7 furlongs and further. When did you and the team, when did you think that she was going to be a top sprinter?
I remember when we were getting her qualified for the all-weather finals, and the honours were, I think it was at Wolverhampton one day, and I said, she's getting quicker. Did I ever think she'd be a Group 1 5 furlong winner? No, but she's shown vast amount of improvement since she's been dropped to 5, and yeah, it's just to think where she's come from to where she is now. It's mad, really.
What about you yourself and where you've come from this year? I mean, obviously the numbers are going up all the time, but to be associated with a top-class horse, how important has that been for you?
It's been massive. Obviously, waited a long time, and to get on a mare like her, and I suppose the story that comes along with it as well is great. And everybody wants to ride a number of winners, but you've got to have some quality in there as well. And I think obviously last year rode over 100 winners in the UK, so that was sort of the main objective. And then this year it was to try and get a Group 1 winner, and I'd be lying if I thought it was going to be her, but for 3 to come along in a fell swoop is great.
I've been asked by many people over here, what's the reason for why she's turned into such a top-class sprinter? There's nothing specific that you can think of over the last sort of 12 months why she's now as good as she is?
She's never really changed so much physically, but I think mentally she's just got sharper in her mind the whole time. I don't know if you've seen her on the track yet, but she's one of those that she takes everything in. She'll go around with her ears pricked. She'd work to a certain level in the morning, but she'd never give you fireworks, and then she keeps it off for an afternoon, so it's, I suppose it's the right way around anyway.
How are you enjoying the experience of the Breeders' Cup yourself?
Yeah, really good. Had an experience a couple of years ago with Safe Voyage, but it's nice to be here with her, with a live contender.
Now, obviously, it's Golden Pal versus Highfield Princess. We know that on his turf, he's very good. Tell me about how much you enjoying the prospect of the challenge as a professional sportsman.
It's what we all aspire to. You want to be riding at the big meetings, you want to be riding good horses, and I don't get the chance to ride as many good horses as some other people do. So for me to be associated with her and taking on probably the best sprinter in America with the best European sprinter is it's something special.
It certainly is special, Jason. Thank you very much for that. By the way, do you like my T-shirt?
UK.
Yes, UK Wildcats. Have you heard of them before you came out here?
Never.
Nor did I. And apparently the saying is go for the Cats. So go for the Cats?
I'll let you do that, Richard.
Go for the Cats from both of us.
Isn't it C-A?
I brought Richie to work this morning, and he said, "Oh, that's a nice building. What is that?" I was like, "That's Rupp Arena." Highfield Princess, like we said, a tremendous chance in the turf sprint. The rider was very blunt in saying, "Hey, we've got to take on perhaps the best turf sprinter in the world," but that's what you expected the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, she comes in with 3 consecutive victories, the Primorista Geese, the Nunthorpe, and the Flying Five. And when she finished in that last race at the Curragh, she just shot away from them, ears up at the wire. It was an easy victory for her. The biggest thing that she's going to have to contend with, obviously, is Golden Pal, but just how fast the American horses break from the starting gates. The Europeans just don't tend to break as fast as the Americans do, and this race has often gone to an American, in part because of that, and also just because of the natural speed. What I think is the most difficult to predict, though, Simon, is how much faster she might be over this ground.
Yes. Yeah.
All the Europeans,
yeah,
really.
Exactly. I mean, it is. She's been around left-handed track 3 times, I think, to my recollection. So I don't think that's an issue with the term. But, yeah, it's gate speed. It's gate speed, gate speed, gate speed. It's all about getting out of the blocks. She's going to be up against Golden Pal, I think.
Yeah, because Golden Pal is most extra.
Yes.
He's the best gate horse I think I've ever seen, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, he just... shoots out of there.
No, he'll get 2 lengths on a field right out of the gate. It's truly impressive. So there was a good look at one of the riders coming over from Europe. And the European riders, like you said, he won 100 races in Great Britain this year. What's the biggest adjustment for them, Simon?
I think the configuration of the track, the tighter turn, no track is the same in England. I think at some point there were like 42 racetracks, different racetracks, and no track is the same. So it's just the ability, to have that turn come up on you really quickly, especially in the mile races and, tight quarters going into a turn. It's very different for them.
Let's check in once again with Caton Bradar. Caton.
All right, we have been treated to the jockey cam vantage point in all the races that we've been watching over the last year or so, including the Breeders' Cup. Nick Bentley has been an integral part of that process, but we're taking it to the next level because we're actually going to incorporate the jockey cam vantage point that will enable race fans to be able to participate in a virtual race. Now, we only have 3 stations here, but Nick, explain to us what's going on and what these kids are going to be doing, and race fans will be able to do this on Breeders' Cup Day.
Absolutely, yeah. We're here all Friday, all Saturday. So basically, we're setting up these 2 kids with the headsets. They'll each be riding a horse out of the 7 that we had, done at the racetrack, and they'll literally ride the race. So it's literally getting them right on top of the horse. They'll be able to look right and left, the whole 360, horses passing them, horses behind them, horses in front of them, and just getting that whole experience of riding a real race.
And the video that they are seeing is basically what the jockeys were actually experiencing in real races.
Absolutely, yeah. 7 horses, 7 jockeys. The whole content was done at Santa Anita. They had the 360 cameras on their helmets, and they actually rode a race. Yeah.
We're going to let you go ahead with it as we continue to watch, but the cool thing about this, too, is that right now we're seeing just 2 individuals who are right now on the turf at Santa Anita and participating in a race. They're seeing exactly what the jockeys would have been experiencing, but they will actually, it'll be 7 people in race day, so it will be like a race experience when all is said and done.
Absolutely that, yes. 7 horses, 7 race goers, if you like. 1 will be a winner, 1 will be a second, 1 will be a third, right down to 7th place. They won't know, where they're going to finish, so it'll be real exciting. And like I say, it's just like doing the real thing.
Right, we're going to watch these kids once they get involved and see if we get some other participants. Right now, we're going to head off to Richie.
Yes, Frankie Dettori is in town, and he's aboard Mishriff. Mishriff, of course, preparing for his final run of his illustrious career. His trainer, John Gosden, is just following him out and has promised to chat to us a little bit later on. He said he wasn't so keen to follow in the footsteps of Gerald Ford and talk and chew gum at the same time, which was a quote that I quite enjoyed. But, of course, Mishriff brings into this race some high-class form. He's a horse that's won the Saudi Cup. He's won the Jadwal International. He's won the Dubai Shima Classic. He's won the French Derby as a youngster as well. And he ran in the Arc last time. I think you could rule out that run. I don't think that was the real Mishriff. Tony Proctor, who's part of the team here, obviously joining up with Mishriff and Frankie Dettori at the moment now. Looking back, Nashwa is also just behind. And here she is with Holly Doyle as well. Morning, Holly. Nashwa has looked fantastic all week. How are you feeling? Holly's saying she's feeling pretty good. Of course, she's been in Japan, having ridden through in the UK through the summer and at the back end of the season. Then she went off to Japan with her other half, Tom Marquand. But she's here to ride Nashwa and the Platinum Queen on the weekend. A big weekend for those jockeys, Frankie Dettori and Holly Doyle.
Yeah, and look, it doesn't matter if you're a Hall of Famer like Frankie Dettori. You're up here working in the morning.
That's right. Love to see that he's had the chance to jump aboard Mishriff out here in the mornings. I love him coming into the turf. I know his last few races haven't been his best, but the ground here will suit him much more so, and his speed figures have not really slowed down all that much in the last year or so compared to his prior races.
The sun is rising. It's picturesque scene here. Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup, the final day, and you get the feeling they knew what they were doing when they had the Breeders' Cup come back to Lexington for the 3rd time. The fog is rolling in as we roll to break. More on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup right after this.
It's
It's time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
Dreamstorm to win the Rico Woodbine Mile.
She's going to do it. Simple Verse has won the Ledger. Snake next spear and Sheen Murphy get through and have won. It's getting really tight. The star of the season, Roaring Lion. The purple cap. Kamiko the far side of him. Kamiko's won. Feel them in line. Mongostina has just won it with Mosse.
Ocean Road after going to Vegas. Ocean Road.
But well behind Tyler's tribe as they come to the final quarter mile. Kylie Jordan has not moved a muscle on the big favorite. Just cantering past the 16th pole. He's a 6th-length winner of the Iowa Cradle.
This is a Kentucky Thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built Powerfoil industrial fan. Like a Thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. BigFans.com. Exceptionally engineered.
Looking to give your handicapping game a sharper focus? RaceLens is the most in-depth product in horse racing, with unique features found nowhere else. Customized PPs, summary and individual research, handicapping angles and backtesting, true odds predictive analysis, and pace projection. With innovative analytics powered by data from Equibase, it will change the way you follow horse racing and take your game to the next level. RaceLens, bringing clarity to handicapping. Learn more at equibase.com/racelens.
Well, if that doesn't get you into the holiday spirit, nothing will. Little dance of the sugar plum fairies. Our camera crew, they're not only deft on their feet, but they're some of the best in the business.
They really are. Shout out to Charlie, to Chili, to Gio, to Miles, to Anna James, who not only are with us every step of the way, but they make us look good and they help us in so many ways. They are so creative. They are so supportive. And sometimes they get the worst of us, I think, when we're out there venting about whatever's going on in our personal lives,
You
or
know
just
their
being
names?
tired or whatever
You woman
else.
of the people, you.
No, they're like therapists and camera people sometimes.
Very well done. Very well done. Maybe they should get the most extra award. At any rate, our coffee cups are still empty. Still empty, yeah. Regular latte, non-normal milk latte, and a decaf latte. And this is all yours. We're going to take another break, giving you another chance. Looking at you, people in the breakfast marquee. Is the volume up loud enough? Should we get it cranked up in there?
How about, can we up this to a mimosa by like 9:30 when the show's ending?
Yeah, we're gonna need a Bloody Mary for Simon as well. Break time. Fog is rolling in. The sun is coming up, but the action's just getting rolling here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. More to come after this.
When the thoroughbred world descends upon Lexington this November, there is one place you need to be. The place where history comes alive with every championship victory.
He's authentic indeed.
The place where the future is built with the fall of a gavel. The place that exists to be the heart of this industry. The center of it all. Home to the November breeding stock sale and 2022 Breeders' Cup, Keeneland.
You called that touchdown. Saw that sack coming. Predicted the pizza tasted better than it looks. And of course, you knew the game's not over until it's over. So this NFL season, put your skills to the test with FanDuel's free games for a shot at $1 million in prizes. FanDuel, make every moment more.
He was just put together like a machine, and he had a great mind. Everything about him was what you'd want.
Tis the Law pops the cork in the champagne. Tis the Law is going to win the first leg of the Triple Crown.
I've never seen him get tired.
Respect the law. Tis the Law.
His structure is just perfect. His bone is perfect.
He's left the others behind. He's going to win the Run Happy Travers.
He's everything you would look for in a horse.
Well, Charlie Appleby is just making his way to the training track, Charlie, this morning?
Yeah, no, off onto the main track. We went around the turf yesterday, so off to the main track this morning, but very pleased with them. Pleased with what we saw yesterday on the turf, and the three of them will just back up there to the 7th pole this morning and just do a nice routine cant around, and the two 2-year-olds and the 2 sprinters will just head off down the back stretch there and just have a mosey on round on the dirt themselves. So, but very pleased. They're all doing as expected. All eating well and settled in well, and the 2-year-olds are taking it all in very well. So pleased, very pleased.
Yeah. We often talk about the fact that at this time of the preparations, you just want to keep things nice and chilled. I mean, all the work is done. It's just a question of getting them through this last day. For sure, yeah. We were just talking about it earlier. If they're not fit before you put them on the plane, you're not going to get them fit the last week going into a championship meeting. So we're very pleased with, like I say, the way they prepped going onto the plane, and as you quite rightly said, they're just going through the motions here really and keeping them all in one piece and ready for the big day. I love the fact that you're not blowing and I'm a little bit out of breath, so I'm going to let you go and I'm going to hand over to Michelle. Take care. Cheers, Charlie.
Thanks, Rishi. I'm over here walking right next to Modern Games. I've been walking next to him for a while, and he is just a cool customer. I've been talking to his exercise rider, and if you guys watch him when he goes around with his ears straight up in the air, and he just looks so easy and relaxed, and she said that's the best part about him, is getting to ride him. So he looks great coming out here, and love his personality, Joaquin.
Michelle in 1992 when Gilded Time won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. That ended his 2-year-old season. His very next start was the 1993 Breeders' Cup Sprint. So he made his seasonal debut in a Breeders' Cup race, if that sounds familiar. Well, Chad Brown is doing that with domestic spending in the FanDuel Mile. And Chad, for you, for domestic spending, when was it realistic, looking at his training, that the Breeders' Cup was going to be an option?
I don't know, about 3 weeks ago or so, after he worked, I just saw something that really gave me some hope he could maybe make this race the right way, and he's worked great since then as well, and he's just a remarkable horse. I wouldn't try it unless I had a horse that I thought was very special.
So a learning moment for us right now. You have a horse that's coming off a layoff. He's run 1.25 miles his last couple starts. How have you tweaked the training program for domestic spending to get him ready to go 8 furlongs off a long layoff?
Well, lucky I have a lot of good horses in my barn. That's a key. It's something I learned from Frankel, is I'm not afraid to put them together. So I'm able to put them in situations that can really test them and get them fit off a layoff, and he's passed every test.
Good luck. Appreciate the time. And I know you got a big team this year.
Thank you. Hope we have some luck.
Yeah, guys.
So the last time we saw domestic spending was in the Mr. D, more affectionately known as the Arlington Million, in years past. 2 Emmys stole that one on the front end. The opening quarter of that race was 26-2. That was the exact same as the opening quarter in the Hambletonian that year.
Right.
I mean, a Modern Games obviously is a horse coming in and everybody thinking he's going to come back and hopefully take home another Breeders' Cup and be able to win it officially and pari-mutually this year. But I think Domestic Spending is one of the most talented horses that Chad Brown has ever had. I think this horse is capable of this. The only thing that tempers my enthusiasm and maybe might push me to pick against him, Simon, is the post position draw. Being hung all the way outside in post position number 14, I think is a bit of a concern for him.
Big concern going a mile at Keeneland, that run into the first turn. They had to widen this turf course, right? So the Breeders' Cup could be held here for this situation. You see all the accolades for trainer Chad Brown, meteoric rise, 15 Breeders' Cup wins already. I mean, in his career, it's unbelievable. It's got about, what, a 10% win streak there. So $21 million in earnings just in Breeders' Cup races. And I think there's nobody that could do this outside of Chad and a couple of other trainers. And the fact he's bringing him here, I think, says a lot.
And that's a big statement. One of the best turf horses he's ever trained. I mean, you think
so.
about bricks and mortar, the list goes on. And I think he's younger than me.
Chad Brown?
I think, yeah. I mean, what have I been doing with my life? My goodness, to accomplish all of that.
Drew Fleming is younger than all of us.
Yeah.
He's the president of the Breeders' Cup.
You've been talking about his horses. That's what you've been doing.
That's what I've been doing. I've been talking about somebody who's been actually doing something. Here's a look at You're My Girl. Stretching her legs on the track right now as she prepares for the juvenile fillies.
She was supplemented to the race for John Terranova, daughter of Overanalyzed. Johnny Velasquez, a Hall of Famer, is going to be aboard. I went back and forth as I was kind of doing my final handicapping for Future Stars Friday yesterday. Chop Chop is a horse that I loved going into the Alcibiades. I think a lot of people will be on her bandwagon coming into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies this year. I'm going to settle on You're My Girl as the top selection, though. I think she's going to have no problem stretching out to 2 turns. She was second to Chocolate Gelato in the Frisette, but that was a sloppy track effort. She has speed. She has a good draw towards the inside, and she has the pedigree to improve. Her sprint figures on Thorograph are faster than anybody else in this race when they were sprinting. So if you project the same improvement for her that you saw from many of her contemporaries in here, I think she could steal this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think her biggest, I mean, she's quick and she might be the speed of the speed, but I think, you know, she's going to get some company up there. That's, I mean, she certainly is. There's enough speed in here to give her some company, maybe not head-to-head, but they're going to force the issue with her, I think. You know, Leave No Traces coming out of one-turn races. Chocolate Gelato, although she was taken off the pace last time, she showed speed. So, look, she's a very good filly, don't get me wrong, and I think the fact they supplemented her is also a vote of confidence. You don't see that very often at a big price. But John Velasquez aboard, I think that's telling as well. And, you know, on form, she's absolutely fits, and the pedigree shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, the juvenile fillies is wide open this year. I think Wonder Wheel is going to get a lot of attention because of that Alcibiades victory. And you've got some very sharp, well-bred, as we always do, talented fillies in this race. So this is going to be, I think, a doozy. You're going into those final, you know, several races on Friday. A lot of people are going to be looking at Cave Rock as a potential single. This is going to be one of those races you need coverage.
Yeah, and I think you also have to also come away from the Alcibiades and just see how much credit you're going to give that race, because as good as Wonder Wheel looked, she was on the lead unchallenged clear throughout.
If you look at the Godolphin horses coming onto the track, as we heard from Charlie Appleby, I always find it interesting, Simon, the Euros, when they come to the States, they've done all their work, so it's just getting them acclimated.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Getting them acclimated and getting used to the program, but, you know, it's different than it was 20 years ago. They know what to do. They know what to expect. Godolphin is an international program. It doesn't matter whether it's, you know, France, England, Ireland, Germany, you know, Japan, here, Australia. You may have a good program in place, and they all look the part, that's for sure.
Well, and they have all their bases covered, you know, even before they get on the plane, making sure the horses are hydrated, making sure they have all the same feed that they're used to, all the same equipment that they're used to. I mean, their environment sort of travels with them. And at their basis, if you just, you know, horses are fight or flight animals. They have, I read this study years ago, an adrenaline surge when they go into a new environment, and that's just their basic animal instincts. So there's been thought that that kind of surge in their natural body can improve their overall health and kind of well-being in the initial stages. You have a window, that first kind of week or so, before the acclimation process starts to hit them, the different temperatures, the different time change. All of that doesn't catch up to a horse for several days, which is why you'll see many of these European outfits ship in right on top of a race.
And it's just which is why you'll see when horses come to a new environment for the first time on track, they always like, oh, he went so good this morning. Yeah, he did, but it's an adrenaline rush as well. That's exactly what's given.
The London fog we have rolling in should make them feel right at home.
Plus, it's always an advantage when you have your own airplane to fly horses around. I'd start there. Godolphin coming in on their own 747.
That's nice.
Yep.
Here's a look at Malathat getting ready for the Distaff. I mean, she began her season here at Keeneland back in April, and it has been tremendous. This might be the most wide open Distaff just because of the talent at the top, to the point where they had a poll about who you were going to bet, and they didn't even put Clariere on Twitter.
No, that's ridiculous, because Clariere, to me, Clariere is kind of the forgotten about horse because she hasn't raced.
Good, forget.
Yeah, exactly. And
is she your pick?
Well, she is if she goes off at 6-1.
Yeah, I she's going to be obviously right there. I mean, the Curlin just dominates this race. Nest, Clariere, Malathat. I mean, all in one race. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, Clariere beat Malathat twice this year in both the Ogden Phipps and the Chuvie. Because of that poor running line in the personal instant last out, she might be third, fourth choice. You get a horse like her at third choice, that's extreme value when you consider her class.
You have to, the question you have to ask yourself is, and it'll play out, who's the better group? Is it the 4-year-olds, Clariere and Malathat, versus the up-and-coming 3-year-olds? And I think Secret Oath was at the head of the class. She's had a phenomenal year. She's only finished off the board once. That was against the boys in the Preakness. But I don't think Nest was as good as her. She was a late developer. She emulated her sire, who got a late start into his career. He developed. I think Nest has really developed now. I think Secret Oath she's maintained. She hasn't regressed. She stayed the same. But I think Nest is taking a step forward.
I'm of the opinion that the 3-year-olds are the stronger class, the 3-year-olds versus the 4-year-olds. But that has not been the historical trend in this race. 3-year-olds have not won it near as often as the older class has.
Right, and nobody said anything about Society so far. I want to ask you this as we're looking at Malathat. I heard a lot of Blue Stripe early in the week. Are we still there? That was early in the week on the show.
It's based on her training.
Okay.
She's training really well, and it was Mike Welch of the
yeah.
Daily Racing Forum talking a lot and kind of pointing her out. She looks sensational. I will say that Marcelo Polanco, with these horses that come from Argentina, they get better and better and better. He often needs a race or two to get them going. Now, her first race stateside was the Distaff last year at Del Mar, so they threw her right into the deep end. But then she's continued to improve. Her pattern looks great. She gets faster every race. But she does need to still be a few points faster with Malathat, with Nest, with Clariere.
Is this race one of those, this is what the Breeders' Cup was designed for, one of those races where the division is decided on the track on this day?
I think it's the best Breeders' Cup Distaffs we've seen in quite some time. And from a pure talent standpoint, top to bottom, it might be the best race of the weekend outside of the Classic. I mean, to have that lineup, those two good 4-year-olds and the couple of 3-year-olds in here, I mean, it's really, really good. This is exactly what the Breeders' Cup was designed for.
There's nothing that could happen between Breeders' Cup and the end of the year to change the outcome of this race into the Eclipse race, right?
No.
Okay. Let's catch up with Andy Biancone. She's right there with Malathat. Andy?
Hey, Mike. I'm here with Amelia Green, Mary Ellett, Malathat, and Rocco. Amelia, I remember this filly earlier in the meet was kind of not going with the pony every day, but now she has been going with Rocco's company every day. Has she just been extra fresh?
Yeah, she's just been feeling so good. She came off the track one day and showed everybody her belly with the front feet in the air. So from then on, Todd said, let's just take her with the pony to get her to the race safely.
Now, you've been riding this filly since the very beginning, since she was a 2-year-old. How much have you seen her change from then until now?
I can't take all the credit. I mean, Adele rides her in Saratoga in Florida. I just get to ride her wherever Adele doesn't go. But she's matured a lot, and she's just a professional. She knows her job, and she likes the job. So she's a pleasure to ride.
Do you feel like she knows her race is approaching? Can you feel a difference in her?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely as you get closer to the race, she gets more feisty. And if she sees a horse in front of her, if it's within striking distance, she wants to, like out there just then, I passed Tiber. It was within 5 lengths of her, and she was like, all right, we're passing this one.
Well, thank you so much, Amelia. Thank you, Mary, and best of luck to Team Tap this weekend.
Thank you, Andy.
Boy, she's had the most enviable job, one of the most enviable jobs, working those horses in Malathaat especially.
Yeah, she's, I mean, very, important job. We've talked about it all week, the exercise ride, and she's been a key player there. The experience of riding some races as well helps.
So we're going to go to Michelle Yu right now. Once again, she's back behind the starting gate. Michelle, what do you see?
Mike Joyce, I see a very famous face back here. Chantal Sutherland joining me. Your horse, Willie Boy, is going to come up in school soon. Just tell me about the excitement of being back at Breeders' Cup.
It's so exciting, and Keeneland is so beautiful. I'm happy to be here. This is awesome.
I'm glad that you got the weather notice. You got the hat and the jacket and the scarf. I didn't get that.
Well, I came in this morning and I didn't have a jacket. I had to borrow the groom's jacket.
Tell me what we're expecting from Willie Boy when he gets up here.
He's really pretty good, straightforward. He's knowledgeable, but I thought, the trainer and I agree that it's better just to, get all the little jitters out, let him know that, the big race is coming. He's pretty much ready, but he can get a little antsy. He's a sprinter.
Yep. And he's coming out of a really good effort last time out at Saratoga. What do you expect from him this weekend? Do you think the pace is going to set up perfectly?
I'm a little nervous. I would think that the pace isn't going to be what I think it was. I don't know if Jackie's Warrior is really going to go. Okay. He is quick. I think I love my outside post. Last time in Saratoga, I was on the inside, and I kind of came over a little bit. With Willie Boy, I need the outside. I think I'm really happy with my post. If Jackie goes, I'm going to sit off his hip. He doesn't go, we're going.
All right. Appreciate the time, Chantal.
Thank you.
Just so you guys know, I played a fantasy horse racing draft, and Gabby Gaudette picked Willie Boy as her sprint choice, believe it or not.
Thanks.
Scott.
Yeah, Michelle here with Willie Brown. He's got Spirit Gal, who's been coming out lively in these training track sessions. She's getting ready for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and that we're very familiar with here in North America, Mr. Charles Fipke. How did this filly, this French-bred filly, bred by Mr. Fipke, come into your care, Willie?
Well, I trained her mother, and not very successfully, I might add. She wasn't very good. So Mr. Fipke keeps all his European mares in France, and I've been, looking after horses for him for maybe 15 years. Always sends me a half dozen every year to either pre-train or sell or race. And she came up from France there. She was bred in France. She came up from France last January, and she's here.
She's just come past this. She's feeling good as she comes off the training track. She had a couple of races before she finally broke through. What led to the progression over the course of this 4-race career for this filly?
Well, for some reason, she just every run got better. She kept improving. I can't believe how much she's improved from race to race. And I mean, her last race was exceptional. As you know, she beat Cairo, who was well fancied for the juvenile colts. Didn't come because of an injury, but it's rare that a filly will beat colts, and she beat him easily. So I don't know where she stands here. Is she good enough? I don't know. But by my standards, she is. We'll see.
How she handled the ship over here and going through all the training.
Travelled very well, and her weight is very good, and she's eating great and drinking well, and she's training nicely down the morning. We need a bit of luck. She needs to be on the pace. She's made the running her last 2 runs in Ireland, but I wouldn't be sure if we'll try and make it here. She probably won't be quick enough, but I'd like to just sit in handy and hopefully get a good run. The race can be lost at the first bend, I think, walking the track. You mightn't win it at the first bend, but you can certainly lose it. So we need to get around that bend in good shape.
Well, Willie, it's a pleasure to have you here, and we wish you and Mr. Fipke the best of luck with Spirit Gal on Friday.
Thanks very much, Chris. Thank you.
Let's get back to Michelle.
Thanks, Scott. We're over here, mise en scene right now, schooling in the starting gate. And if you guys have watched her gallop the last couple of days, she's come out with a ton of equipment. She comes out with draws and cheek pieces. And today, when they put her in the starting gate, they did put on the blindfold. So they just brought her back. She was super calm to put it on and got her into the gate. Once she was in the gate, they removed the blindfold. She did rear up just a little bit and danced in place a touch, but really she's not being that bad, and everybody around her is pretty calm, so this seems to be her normal MO. I'm going to step up to James Ferguson real quick. Do you have a quick second to tell us how she's schooling? Sure, yeah. So he's going to stay here and watch her school, and then hopefully catch up with us and tell us what he thinks about her. She's also got a lot of extra equipment on her legs. If you guys can see down below, she's got like these tendon boots on, which are a hard outer surface, and they're soft on the inside. They're open in the front, but they offer a lot of protection. And then she has on a very different set of back bandages as well.
That's some reporting right there, Michelle, trying to get right in the middle of the action. That's what you're supposed to do, and I'm always too afraid to do, is interrupt the trainer when they're actually doing it. And if you can get them to play along, it's like in-game action if you're watching the World Series and they're going into the dugout and interviewing the manager as the action's going. Excellent stuff there. But this is all important. Every little piece of the puzzle they have to get in place before this weekend.
Such a beautiful shot, too, with the sun coming up right now. I mean, just actually absolutely gorgeous out there. Another picture-perfect morning here at Keeneland. Hopefully the weather continues to cooperate. It should be warm for Friday. I listened to the local forecast early this morning. They said Saturday we've kind of come into the potential for showers again late in the afternoon. Hopefully it holds off.
My wardrobe will not withstand showers. That wasn't on the iPhone app a week ago. Yeah. At any rate, any difference in the way these Euros take the gate work here, Simon? We heard you talk about the bell, using a fireman bell. They're going to put her in again. How important is this, and is there a difference?
Well, it's a big difference.
They're
yeah,
walk
the
around the front.
size of the gate, you know, the bell, assistant starters being in the starting gate. They're not used to having people up there. And you say, okay, well, you don't put an assistant starter in with them and do what they do in Europe. But now you got horses either side of you guys climbing up on the side of the gate, so it can be very difficult, very intimidating. She went in with a blindfold, you see, which you don't see in Europe very often. So, and this is good in both ways to get the horse, you know, familiar with the starting gate and get the gate crew familiar with the starting gate. They don't use the blindfold over here, so this is as much as important for the gate crew as it is for the horse itself.
You could see her kind of rock back, though, a little bit for a second there and look at her back feet kind of spread out and leaning back. That's not what you want race day. You don't want that weight to be too far back and to have her legs kind of spread open like that. You want to be standing square, looking right down the middle of the starting gate.
She needs to have the weight evenly distributed on all four corners. She can't be sitting back in the gate. They popped her out there.
She actually jumped pretty well considering the position.
Yes, exactly. And then you put another couple of horses in there, she might get a little faster, you know, with one either side. But, you know, I always get the question, like, why are we doing this 2 or 3 days before a race? And I used the analogy early in the week, well, why does an NBA player shoot around before a game? Why does a baseball player plays 162 games have batting practice? It's just repetition and feel and repeating everything. So it's familiarity.
Well, I mean, there's a different way to do it for every trainer. I mean, there are trainers out there who never gate their horses because they just don't want to go through it. Let's check in once again with Michelle. She's still standing there behind the gate. Michelle?
Thanks, Mike. I'm standing with James Ferguson, the trainer of the filly we just watched school in the gate. That was a big process. Is that just what happens all the time when we're schooling her?
Yeah, I mean, she always wears a blind to go in. As you could see when she first got in, she was a bit fractious, but she relaxed. Second time was much better. She jumped out quick enough. The gates in England, you know, gate speed in America is far more important than it is back home. Because you want to get a nice position here early, and she, you know, so it's important that when we bring her here, you know, we give her a jump out just before the race, just so she's switched on and 100%.
Can you talk a little bit about the equipment she was wearing on her back legs, the different kind of wraps?
She wears Yorkshire boots. She's worn them every day since she was young. Just helps them so she doesn't knock herself.
And you mentioned jumping around the front. We haven't seen any of the U.S. people do that, obviously, but it seems to be a trend with the Europeans to let them come out the front of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't come here. In England, we wouldn't train a horse by bringing them back out, as in you do that to teach them, but you know, for us, it's coming out the front that's more important.
I got to say, she wasn't standing super square. She got out of there very well. Is she normally a decent horse once the gates open?
Yeah, she'll travel very strongly, and you know, she's coming here a fresh filly, so we're looking forward to the race.
I appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Guys?
Thank you, Michelle. Moments ago, Cyberknife on the track. There's a look at him. One of the more talented and accomplished 3-year-olds. Feeling good. acting up just a little bit on the track here.
Well,
that's him.
Kind of got right up into the rider's face for a second there, too. My husband broke his jaw that way, a horse popping right up into your face like that. It can be very, very dangerous. He's always been really high energy. He's always been a horse that they've had to throttle down in his training. And I think as his mental capabilities have caught up with his physical ability, that's where you're seeing him become a more polished racehorse and able to win a lot of these races. But it's chilly this morning. The fog, the kind of air that you're seeing coming out of these horses' nostrils, horses just feel that much better, that much more fresh. You'll see this from any real good feeling horse with weather like this.
Yeah, I mean, the surprising thing, he's 9-2 on the morning line. Out of the two options between the Classic and the Dirt Mile, this is clearly the better option for him. Maybe a mile might be okay for him. He's cutting back in distance. Maybe the speed is set up for him and he'll come from off the pace. I don't know. The jury's still out for me on him in that spot, but he's definitely picked the better of the two options. He's 9-2 in here. He would have been 20-1 in the other race.
One thing you have to keep in mind, you're handicapping the Dirt Mile. We don't run the Dirt Mile here at Keeneland very often. It's the shortest run into the first stretch.
Yep.
And then they come to the first wire. So
Right.
it's also the shortest run home. Inside post positions with speed are going to be at a huge advantage in the race this year. I love Cyberknife at the mile. I think he has that high cruising speed, and I think Florent Geroux has the opportunity to be really aggressive with him, and I think he can be as fast as some of the sprinters, and he can carry it the mile because he's proven he can go that much farther. But he's drawn post 9, and I think that makes it really difficult to make the lead into that short run into the first turn.
Two things about Cyberknife. He was the first horse of this crop of 3-year-olds to win 2 Grade 1s. And I don't think it's a stretch to say this might be the best training job of Brad Cox's career, because he was not easy to handle.
I think one of the best bets in this race, and one of the best bets all weekend, will be Laurel River in the Dirt Mile.
So here's Aiden's Army. This was just moments ago as they came just loping on by. It's as impressive a sight as there is in horse racing. I mean, here, they're only 7 wide. You go to Ballydoyle, they could be 25 wide, but we get a look of it, and it is just outstanding. There's a reason he's one of the most successful trainers of all time.
Yep, I mean, he knows what to do. I thought Rishi had a very good interview with him earlier this week, a great insight to me. And one of the telling lines was for me is, we learn, we come back, and you can see the growth and development over the 25 years when they come to America, how they've adapted with their traveling. I thought Aiden's saying that when we lose a race, or when I lose a race, it just gives me more hunger to come back and try and do it right the next time.
So when they lope into the fog, they would emerge in the paddock, and Caton Bradar is there right now.
Well, it was almost out of the fog as they emerged through the walkway into the walking ring area of the paddock right now. And much as they train on the track, kind of very well orchestrated in single file. Order of Australia leading the group, followed by Stone Age, who's gotten just a little bit warm despite the chilly temperatures. Broom is third in line, and we continue. Second from the end is Toy, and then Meditate is at the back of the pack here, but definitely not the least of the contenders. As you watch them, it's interesting. They're following the same pattern that the other horses who have schooled in here have done so far. So this would assume to be the pattern that the horses will do in the afternoon for the races later, which is they make one loop or more in that counterclockwise direction, and then oftentimes go into the saddling stalls to stand and then come back out and parade once or twice around here in the big walking ring area before going into the smaller walking ring area. But you can see, having already done a bit of exercise, they're just taking in all the sights. Everybody seems to have handled everything beautifully, including this paddock area. The only horse that I noticed that's even a little bit warm is Stone Age, but he's already started to cool down quite a bit. Victoria Road is a little amped up on toes and kind of bouncing around, but not in an uncontrolled manner. I mean, certainly this whole group are pros so far as taking it all in and just kind of stretching their legs. And this is going to be similar to what they would do at home, although in a very, very different setting. But the idea of these long walks alternating with the exercise is very typical for them. There's a couple other horses that are in the paddock at the same time, and they've mixed in at the end, including Interloper, but all part of the experience of getting them ready. And I think that they are heading toward the saddling stalls right now.
Kaiten, thank you very much. Again, part of the preparation, walking through the paddock. And remember, they made those significant renovations to the paddock coming into this year to account for the fuller fields of the Breeders' Cup. A nice big long loop all the way around the Keeneland paddock for everyone to enjoy. It is break time once more here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Stay with us. We'll be right back live from Keeneland Racecourse.
Global Campaign by 2, and Global Campaign will win the Grade 1 Woodward. It is Global Campaign holding on to the lead. Global Campaign won the Peter Pass.
NBA is back, and with FanDuel, this season's looking better than ever. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet and get up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. Plus, all customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass with a $5 bet from America's #1 sportsbook. That's right. Not only do you get a no-sweat first bet, you can also watch NBA League Pass on us. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
On FanDuel Casino, we make it easy to turn your site credit into real money. Unlike other casinos who make you wager your site credit over and over before you can withdraw it, we play fair. Just play through it once and you keep what you win. Turning all your site credit into real cash is that simple. Plus, you'll get paid your way, quickly and securely. Come see why FanDuel Casino promotions give you so much more than other online casinos. Join FanDuel Casino and play it again with up to $1,000 back if you're down on your first day.
Chase the day with Day Chaser Cocktails, the official ready-to-drink canned cocktail of Breeders' Cup.
And then Perfect Power on the far side. Go Bears Go is now taken on by Art Power, Ventura Diamond, and also finishing well is Tenebrism as Kinross now takes it up on the centre in the centre group. Kinross sent ahead 2 lengths to Creative Force and Run to Freedom. Far side Tenebrism and Rohan finishing well, but Kinross in the form of his life going to follow up his foray win, and Kinross wins easily.
And I am with the pilot of Kinross, who's getting ready for the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile at Frankie Dettori. So that means the party can officially start here at Breeders' Cup at Keeneland. But you've got a busy weekend ahead and some live mounts. We'll start with Kinross. Is this the type of horse that can handle this kind of schedule that's been set out in front of him?
Well, he's a horse. He comes in the Breeders' Cup with his confidence super high. He's won his last 4. He's, he hasn't run a mile for a long time, but you need kind of a 7-8 horse for this track. You need to have a bit of speed. He's got some. The only bad luck is we drawn 13 or 14, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for me. As far as the horse is concerned, like I said, we can't have him any better, and we're hoping for a big run.
Mishriff, final race of his career. It's been a bit of time since you've been with this veteran, this champion. What are your expectations going in with Mishriff for Gosden?
He's doing really well. I rode him this morning. He's acclimatized real good. Look, he's an old veteran. He's been around the world, and you know what to expect of him. He doesn't know how to run a bad race. We always thought a mile and a half is probably his maximum, but around 3 terms we'll put him in the equation. It looks a very tough race, but I'm very pleased with my boy.
and you're getting back with Campanelli for Wes, and it's going to be a tall task to tackle the speedster and Golden Pal away from the starting gate. How do you approach a race like that with a horse that you've got to chase down like Golden Pal potentially?
Well, Campanelli's not slow at all, so obviously we won't have the legs of Golden Pal early doors, but let's hope that somebody pressures him a little bit, and then for one thing for sure, she's going to finish strong.
And you've got you're carrying the Canadian flag a couple of times this weekend. More on Saturday in the Maker's Mark Filly Mare Turf, and then last call in the juvenile fillies. What are your expectations with those two fillies?
I was very impressed with Moira in the Queen's Plate when she destroyed the field. She had a bad trip last time. She got disqualified. So again, the fillies and mares is usually very tough, but she's a champion in her own right, and I'm looking forward to ride her.
You're coming our way this winter. It was announced that you're coming out of Santa Anita to spend the winter. How did this come about, Frankie?
Well, I was asked a while back, and then I was asked again, and then people are showing interest. And, I've had many years in Dubai, and I thought, why not? I come into my twilight of my life, and I thought, let's give it a go. I started there 35 years ago, and I like to go back and give it a go. I'm super excited. I'm getting a lot of phone calls. I've got a super agent, and off we go. Boxing Day, I'll be there.
Who's representing you?
Ron Anderson.
That is a damn good agent to have on your side. I've read that you're hoping to pick up a 3-year-old. Is that part of the motivation, a 3-year-old, to potentially take you to Churchill Downs?
Listen, I said to everyone, I'm keeping my options open. It's going to be a long winter. And who knows, if I stumble into a very good 3-year-old, I'm going to carry on and stay here for the Kentucky Derby the first Saturday of May. But listen, we are a long way away. I haven't found anything yet. I haven't sat on anything yet. So at the moment, I'm just concentrating, be there on opening meet on Boxing Day, and we'll take it from there. Everything is wide open.
Well, always great to catch up, Frankie. Good luck this weekend. Safe travels, and looking forward to having him out on the West Coast. It's going to be a fun winter to have Frankie Dettori at Santa Anita.
You're not kidding, Scott. That is going to be excellent, and probably him and Johnny will be the two that Ron Anderson represents. That Jocks colony, we talk about it like, oh, Flavian left, and then it's Juan Hernandez steps up, and it's a little light. It's going to be loaded this winter.
It's going to be exciting to watch, and great riders make other riders better. It's just going to make the entire pool of talent have to step up to the level of a Frankie Dettori or a John Velasquez.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, star power. He fits in the land of Hollywood. Right now, let's check in once again with Joaquin.
Well, trainer John Terranova is going to be represented with the New York bred in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. That is You're My Girl, who drew post position number 2. You can see the daughter of Overanalyze just right behind us on the wash rack, getting sponged down over here after she went for a jog today. Hey, John, where did that 14-length maiden win come from for her?
She just she had trained really well up at Saratoga, came on really well. We expected her to run well first out, but you never expect to see something like that. You never know. You hope for it, but we were very pleased.
Next start, she's thrown a little bit more. Sloppy racetrack, stretches out to a mile. What'd you take from her performance in the Frizette?
Yeah, a lot of adversity with the racetrack and the conditions, and obviously stretching out. And the second time back off a pretty easy win up in Saratoga, she trained on really well. And we had to see, but I thought she ran a game race, and she held in against the favorite. She galloped out really strong, came out of it fantastic, and it seems like she's progressed each in her first 2 starts. So here we are.
Do you feel that you're maybe a little bit of a disadvantage not having a 2-turn test going against this group in the juvenile fillies?
I don't think so. I mean, she's got a great mind. She's got speed, but she's very handy. So, we'll see. And she's been here several weeks now. So we've got to settle in, had a couple of big breezes over the racetrack. Everything's gone well.
Johnny Velasquez gets aboard for the first time. Has Johnny got a chance to get to know your filly at all?
He's worked her the last 2 works here. So he's been on her twice here. And, seems to like what he's felt, and they've gotten along great.
We're getting a good look at her on the wash rack right here. Take me a little bit through her personality, what she like to be around, what she like at the barn.
She's all class. She's a tough girl. She lets you know a little bit, but, she's got that inner strength and that kind of alpha filly feel to her, but very strong, but very, very classy and very calm. She does everything, loves to eat, loves to sleep, does her thing, loves to get out there and train. So, you know, she's a pleasure.
I'm sure you've had not too much time other than just to graze and thumb through the past performances, but on paper, does it look like your filly might be long gone and just send her straight to the front out of the gates?
You know, hard to say. She jumped well from the gates both times she's run. You know, stretching out into the 2 turns, like you said, she should be forward. We're hoping everything comes away. You know, she comes away from there very well, and she's got an inside draw. So, you know, we're not going to take anything away from her. We'll let Johnny and her decide what they want to do, but I would expect so.
Appreciate the time. Good luck to you guys on Friday.
Thanks, Joaquin.
All right, guys, that's trainer John Terranova with the New York bred You're My Girl. She'll be in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
Another thing in the last 10 years I've fallen in love with is when state breds compete on a main stage.
Yes.
It doesn't matter the state. If it's New York, California, you name it. I always love when the state breds go out and they beat open company.
She's legit. She's fast. That 14-length victory was very impressive in her debut. And keep in mind, again, we're going to the first wire for the juvenile fillies. Inside speed is significant in this race. She's drawn well. She's very fast, and she shouldn't have any problem with the distance.
So the shortest price on day 2 of the Breeders' Cup is obviously going to be Flightline. Shortest price on day 1, most likely going to be Cave Rock, as we take a look at the Bob Baffert trainee, who's been nothing short of excellent in 2 tries in California.
Second shortest price all weekend behind Flightline. You're right. Not only outstanding. He's got all the tools. He's got the speed. And he's got the perfect post position. He's got all the credentials for what Christina just mentioned. The short stretch. You know, and he can just blast away from there at the top of the stretch. That's the key here. That short stretch, it comes up, that wire comes up real quick, and you've got to have tactical speed. I think throughout the fall meet at Keeneland, the big wide sweeping move wasn't working, whether it was just the first wire or the second wire. You add in that to the mix in a full field. He's just got all the credentials for this.
He has so much power.
Yeah.
You look at him when he gallops, he bows his neck down just like his sire, Arrogate, did. We've talked about that. When you have a horse really drop their neck and drop their head and bow like that, they build up so much muscle behind. That's where that strength comes from, where he has the ability to accelerate at the end of his races. He went 22-4, 46-4, 111 for the 3/4 in the American Pharoah, and then he kicked clear like a turf horse as they hit the stretch. That combination of speed and acceleration, his inside draw, he's really tough to get by in the juvenile.
Mark of a good horse is speed and stamina. He's got both. He wanted 6 furlongs, which is atypical. We saw a lot from the Arrogates in 2022, but the majority of it was when they were sent long.
Right.
Peter Miller and Tell Me No Lies,
yes.
Right? There was a prime example in the juvenile fillies. This horse didn't need to go long. I mean, showed blistering speed in the first start to win by 6, and then the ability to stretch out. It's lethal.
The horse that drew the rail is interesting in terms of Cave Rock because of the pace. Hurricane J has only sprinted in the first 2 starts of his career. He's also very fast. He has a lot of size to him. He's a son of Nyquist, who's a juvenile winner himself. He looks, Hurricane J, like he would be a router, but he's been classy enough to win twice at the sprint distance. He will jump quickly as well. He could be a thorn in Cave Rock's side just in the early stages of this race.
Go Bears go. Let's see if Rishi can get that colloquialism down too. Go Bears go.
Go the Bears go.
Go the Bears go, yes. Go Bears go on track right now. As this one, a little bit of a long shot in the turf sprint, but a horse who's coming over. His last win actually came in the Phoenix at the Curragh, and then a couple of very tough Group 1s where he finished near the back of the pack.
I think what they're banking on with him is the fact that even coming in off some poor form last year in 2021, getting over a firmer course and with the tighter turns here in America, he stepped forward. He was second by a half length in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. He looked like he's coming in the same way this year. His recent form just isn't great. He was 7th in the Haydock Sprint Cup. He was 9th in the British Champions Sprint. They put the blinkers on. He gets faster ground. He's back on 21 days rest, but will the ground move him forward again? I think that's what they're hoping for in making the journey with Go Bears Go.
I think so. He got firmish ground at Haydock. I think some of the answers for this horse is that he showed good precocity at the age of 2. That was a 2-year-old loss. Now he's jumping older older sprinters, veterans. He's only a 3-year-old. He's taken some, horses on that are long in the tooth and well campaigned. And he's been beaten by a couple of fellow Europeans in his last 2 starts. So it gets a lot tougher, I think, for Go Bears Go.
Another talented juvenile, blazing 7s on track like good magic. It's a nice runner for Chad Brown, who won the Champagne Stakes. Look, the colt's going to be trying 2 turns for the first time. He's long on talent. Does he measure up to the better juveniles in this class, though, Simon?
Well, didn't you have an interview with Gary Young earlier this week, and he touched on this horse?
Yes, he said this horse works very well.
Yes, exactly. And I think the thing for this horse is, you know, he's trying 2 turns for the first time. That mile at Aqueduct was a 1-turn mile. You know, and it was on a sloppy racetrack. I always put an asterisk next to a performance like that, but he's won on a fast track. I think he's a threat in here, and I think looking at his running style, Christina, and his pedigree, the distance shouldn't be an issue at all.
Remember, his sire, Good Magic, broke his maiden first time going long in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. This horse already has a pair of wins to his credit, but he's yet to go 2 turns. The offspring of Good Magic so far at 33% in their first attempt at the dirt route. He's rapidly improving. He should take another big step forward in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. But what worries me about him is that race that he ran in the Champagne, it was such a big performance, and it was such a significant step forward in his speed figures. Clearly, he loved the track. But sometimes I think horses that love a surface like that, they go out there and they have so much fun and they kind of overextend themselves and they run that big race. Then you're at risk of them bouncing in the next start because they've kind of overdone it a little bit over a surface that they really enjoyed. Can he come back with that kind of race again? That's the question.
Let me ask you a question, Simon. What was the move that you just said wasn't winning here going 2 turns at Keeneland?
The big white sweeping move.
How did Forte win the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity?
Yes, and that's what makes him, because he was running against kind of a track, I wouldn't say a track bias, but an angle that wasn't very productive throughout the meet. So I think that's a good thing. You know, and he beat a very good horse in Loggins that day. He ran down a legitimate horse in Loggins.
No, 2 things. I loved that move by Forte, and 2, I wish I had about $1,000 on a future wager on Loggins for the Derby. Let's check in with Michelle again.
Oh, Mike, we're back here again behind the starting gate. We have another European up here to visit. This is going to be Persian Force. He'll go postward in the juvenile turf sprint for Richard Hannon. And he's going to come stand in the gate. And then, like we've seen the Euros do, he's going to pop out the front. Now, in the UK, this horse has run forwardly placed. And so I'm interested to see.
Okay. That was the first glitch we've had all show.
No, all week.
Yes, all week.
Blame you.
Yeah. Of course, when I'm hosting. I guess I'm not getting the most extra. All right, let's try this again with camera running. Michelle?
Guys, we just watched Persian Force jump out of the gate here. He was a complete professional in this particular situation. He walked right in, he stood beautifully, and then he hopped out with such good speed and really got himself well underneath himself.
It's such a fascinating view to have the camera right there when they break from the gate.
I wouldn't underestimate Persian Force either. That second place effort behind Blackbeard in the pre-morning goes a long way. And I thought Frankie aboard him that day tried to move a little early deliberately to see if he could catch Blackbeard. Wasn't quite good enough, but this horse rallies hard. He runs low. Great moving son of Maymus. He's very athletic.
Yeah, we'll see him. It's a long morning line once again. We'll see how they perform, though. It's, I don't know, the Euros have an interesting feel this year. I don't feel like they're as deep as they've been in years past, but there's kind of like sneaky big prices that you feel could get in.
He's 15 to 1, that horse.
Yeah. Let's check in once again with Rishi Prasad.
Yes, John Gosden has just overseen the preparations this morning of Nashwa and Mishriff. John, first of all, your first impression of how those 2 horses have acclimatized.
Very well, actually. They travel well and they've eaten and drunk well. And they don't go to bars, they only drink water, so that's a big advantage. And look, I couldn't be more pleased with them. They went out on the track and playful, enjoyed themselves, a nice jog, nice canter, good solid canter. And they're in good order.
Talk to us first of all about Mishriff, who's had a stellar career. Obviously, the arc run, I was saying earlier to the team here at TVG and FanDuel, to put a line through that run. Are you doing the same thing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're suffering, obviously, in the autumn with very heavy ground and deep and loose ground. And, I mean, let's face it, Ascot, same thing happened there. It's no one's fault. It's the weather. It's the end of the year. But I think I was, you know, he tried hard, but he couldn't go in that ground. This will be very different. We're going to be on fast ground here, firm turf. Last time I was here was 7 years ago with Golden Horn. We got 3 inches of rain, so luckily we're not getting that.
And the thing about Mishriff, obviously, his form is outstanding. Some people are sort of thinking about it, it's the last race of his career. Is it as a case of rolling the dice, or has this Breeders' Cup turf been a focus for him?
Well, Frankie Dettori's been in my ear about it all year. He thinks he'll really suit the 1.5 miles here. You know, it's not a true test of a 1.5 miles. He's a 1.25 mile horse who'll get a 1.5 miles around 3 bends on a fast surface. So he's been banging on all year. As well, obviously, both the Godolphin horses running. So we've been going on about it. You better ride it.
Well, that's an interesting thought about that. And as for Nashwa, she had that mid-season break. How much has that benefited her for this particular time of the year?
Well, we made the decision after the Prix d'Anne to wait and give her a nice holiday to the Nassau, then a good gap to the Opera. She ran a brilliant race from a horrible draw. She and Tuesday were stuck out in 15-16, and you have to use them to get with that downhill right-handed coming, and they had to use her a bit, and then the race started too early. Basically, as they came out the false straight, and it just cost her at the end, but she ran an absolute blinder. And she's in good form here. She looks great in her coat, and I love the way she went out and playful, and she's taken to the pony very quickly. A lot of the fillies like that. And no, we're very pleased with her going in. But obviously in these races, you need luck and running. I know about that in this particular race a couple of times, getting boxed in.
And John, we are, as always, grateful for your time. We wish you the very best of luck. And in the meantime, we're going to head out on track with Andy.
We're here with Peter Leva, longtime exercise rider of Chad Brown, who's currently on Blazing Sevens. Peter, how is Blazing Sevens training approaching his race?
He's training very good. He's super kind horse, super smart, you know, and he's doing pretty good here.
You've ridden a lot of very talented horses over the years for Chad. How does this horse measure up to all those horses?
He's training like a 3-year-old. He's super, you know, super talented horse. And I'm really glad I got this squad and Chad gave me the opportunity to ride this horse.
Now, you also get on domestic spending every day. How do you feel about how he's doing and about the number 14 post position?
Yeah, he's got a tough post position. Well, we know we have a really good horse, you know, and we know he's coming for the layoff and everything, but he's training amazing, racing amazing, and you know, we're excited for him to bring him to the Breeders' Cup, you know. So we are really glad.
Thank you so much, Peter. Excellent job to you and the team, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, I'm getting like a Blazing Sevens feeling now.
He's a beautiful horse, isn't he?
He really is. We have Moira on the track, of course, that filly who won the Queen's Plate. She is just something else. She was schooling yesterday. She came out on the track with Harley. Harley broke away to do some other work, but here's a look at Moira.
Nice little pep in her step out there at the jog. Gotta love to see this. High energy as she comes in off her second place effort in the EP Taylor. She had such a tough trip in that race. Ended up just behind Rougier, but she's gutsy. She has a lot of stamina. Daughter of Go Sapper out of an Unbridled Song mare. 4 for 6 lifetime. Here's another 3-year-old in this really wonderful class of 3-year-olds that we have to enjoy this year. She in the filly and mare turf. I think she still needs to improve a little bit, Simon, to compete, especially with the Euros and some of the others from Chad Brown's barn, but there's a lot of support in the Moira camp.
For sure, and rightly so. Why wouldn't you? She's won 4 out of 6. She looks extremely healthy and sound jogging there. And, yeah, I mean, I think I agree with you. I think as a 3-year-old going up against some of these older horses, she's got to take a significant jump forward. But she'll, you know, Bob Baffert said yesterday, all I want is a chance to root my horse at the top of the stretch. You don't want to be, you know, in retreat. She will be running at the top of the stretch. Whether it's good enough to win, we don't know. But she'll give the connections a thrill.
She is sensationally talented. And sometimes I think in this country we dismiss the Queen's Plate winner. It's their Derby, it's not our Derby. But I think she has every bit of talent as any of the top turf horses here. I mean, she did a bulk of her running on synthetic, but she has got a ton of talent.
7-length winner of the Queen's Plate.
And that's, of course, beating the boys, right?
So we are about to take a break, but for all you out there, we have a new contest. FanDuel's giving out $20,000 in prizes, all Breeders' Cup fans, plus a free shot at $1 million. Just pick the correct order of finish in the FanDuel Breeders' Cup Mile, presented by the PDJF. Play free at FanDuel.com or on the FanDuel app. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup right here on FanDuel TV.
This is a Kentucky Thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built Powerfoil industrial fan. Like a Thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. BigFans.com. Exceptionally engineered.
Eclipse champion Blame, standing at Claiborne Farm.
Trade Storm to win the Rico Woodbine Mile.
She's going to do it. Simple Verse has won the Ledger.
Snake Neck Spear and Sheen Murphy get through and have won.
It's getting really tight. The star of the season, Roaring Lion.
The purple cap, Kamiko the far side of him. Kamiko's won. Wheel them in line. Mongostina has just won it with Mosse.
Ocean Road after going to Vegas. Ocean Road.
Lexitonian, a consistent top-level performer from east to west. A debut winner at 2, winning and placing in multiple Grade 1 races, following the footsteps of his sire Speightstown to win the Grade 1 Vanderbilt at Saratoga, and placing second in the Grade 1 Bing Crosby and Grade 1 Churchill Downs Stakes, out of the daughter of a Grade 1 test winner. He has the pedigree, the speed, and the looks to succeed. Lexitonian, standing at Lane's End.
The industry has a few things that we have to take care of better, and one was the aftercare of the horses.
We have a social responsibility to make sure that thoroughbred aftercare is also #1 on the list.
Just the word aftercare has become part of the vernacular in a way that it was not.
We started with some 21 organizations, and now we're up to over 82 facilities throughout the country and giving away almost just under $25 million.
It's time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win.
FanDuel TV's Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup is presented by WinStar Farm and by Keeneland.
There's a look at Cece stretching her legs here for the filly and mare sprints. It's the final day of the breakfast show, and we're entering the final hour.
Looking forward to seeing Cece defend her title in the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint. It's a much different race this year, though. I think Gamine really scared a lot of people off last year. It was kind of a smaller division, just 5 of them in the race back in 2021 at Del Mar. We have a very full field coming into the race this year, 13 of them to go postward. Cece's well drawn. She kind of makes her own luck. She has that nice stalking style. And she comes in off a pretty easy last race, which is, I think, what Michael McCarthy really wanted. He followed the same campaign into the race this year as he had in 2021.
Yeah, Princess Rooney Ballerina Chillingworth, and she comes in good shape. I agree with you. I think it's a slightly different race. She's definitely got the credentials to win it, but just slightly bigger field. Gets a good post, and she's looked tremendous here all week long training.
Live on the track right now is Nest. She has been the story of the 3-year-old filly division. She almost won the Belmont. You could make the case she was best in the Belmont, and her campaign in 2022 has been excellent. She will likely go favorite in the Distaff.
In addition to the fact that she's coming in here off 3 sparkling performances, 2 at Saratoga, the recent Beldame at Belmont at Aqueduct back on October 9th, seems like she's getting better and better. I think she sits a really nice trip. Society from the outside post clearly wants the lead. She has been the most successful that way. But I think search results might be right there to press her. Nest puts herself right in the pocket behind those 2.
She's had a busy campaign. She's had 7 races, been on the go since February. But I would argue that, you know, at least the last race, I think it was a walk in the park for her. Very, very easy. She's thrived here all week. And I think, you know, this is a tough race. Obviously, we've touched on it. But I think, you know, she would get my nod in here. I mean, I don't think you can jump into this race from a handicapping and betting standpoint and pick anyone with confidence. But if you have to make a selection, I'd be forced to go with this horse in Nest.
I mean, she's a superstar filly. There's no two ways about it. You were talking about how the Curlins are dominating this race, but she has just gotten better and better with every start. And the way she goes about her business, the way she runs, it's a sight to behold. I mean, I'm not the purveyor of horse flesh like you two are, but even I can see what a magnificent mare she is.
Yeah, and she's got, you know, she has the ability to put away a competition. Her stablemate Malafat, equally as good resume, maybe better at this point because she's a year older, but she's eking it out by a nose or neck. That's just her style. She's a grinder. This one a little more explosive. I think she's developed, and you can see in the form, like I said, that mid-year line through the Oaks, she was getting beaten by Secret Oath, and now she's kind of gone forward and passed her a little bit.
Okay, we just saw Cece on the track prior to this. We're going to go to Michelle Yu, who's standing by with Michael McCarthy, who she will undoubtedly call Mike.
Oh, here we go.
Well, Mike Joyce. I'm actually standing behind Michael McCarthy, so I'm trying to hide from him so he didn't know I was here, so he didn't run away. Good morning, Michael.
Morning. How are you guys?
You know, this is our last day of the breakfast show. We started off with you. I feel like I want to finish it off with you as well. Tell me, how's it going out here?
All's well so far. Horses seem like they're enjoying themselves. Everybody's happy, healthy, eating up.
So we've been talking about CC a lot. I want to talk about Smooth Like Straight. He's been in Churchill since the Arlington Million. What were your thoughts when you got to see him here at Keeneland?
Looks fantastic. He's getting over the track great. You know, he's a professional. He brings it every time. He's had a couple of hard luck stories, but I got a feeling he's going to run a big one again this weekend.
I was shocked at his price, really. I feel like he's completely under the radar, and he is so consistent. Were you surprised to see him at double digits on the morning line?
It's funny. He's been a horse that hasn't had a whole lot of respect here the last year. You know, he's wrapped up started the season off. He was third right here at Keeneland, second again at Santa Anita, and came back and was second in the Arlington Million. Unfortunately, missed a little start in the prep race, the Coolmore here, but horse is doing well. I'm not a morning line maker, so I don't put a whole lot into that. I just go by what I see here.
I go by what I see too. And when Michael started to talk about Smooth Like Straight, you guys, he smiled. I'm going to say he likes his horse there.
Might be a good angle.
Mike Joyce.
I'm rebranding as Michael just because of Michael McCarthy, so you can refer to me as Michael as well. 7 straight 100 buyer speed figures or higher for Smooth Like Straight, and none of them wins. It's mind-boggling. When you have a run like that, running that fast, just a law of averages, you should win almost half of them.
Yeah, he's such a consistent horse. You heard Michael say there, he's a professional. He shows up every time. But I think when you consider milers in general, so many of them are those horses that drop back and just have that explosive move. He's a little different. He's on the front end so often. And I think some of his losses, not necessarily his fault. He can't see the competition coming. He's out there on the front end. He's sustaining, but he doesn't have the electric nature or the electric punch that I think a lot of the milers do have.
He doesn't have a turn of foot, which is key in turf racing, right? He goes out there, but, I mean, he is just tremendous. He really, really is. And when you're on the front end, you're doing all the dirty work for everybody else behind you. And, I mean, just you couldn't ask for a more consistent animal. It's unbelievable.
I think Michael and Michelle could have their own show. They
pretty much have. It's been one of the best segments all week.
Yeah. It's been outstanding.
M&M show.
We're going to take a break. When we return, I mean, there's no more picturesque setting in racing than Keeneland Racecourse. It really is the natural home of the Breeders' Cup, and it all starts tomorrow. We'll be back on Breakfast right after this.
If this place could talk, it would roar. It would say, this is racing. This beating heart in the heart of horse country. Steady and strong beneath the roar. Reminding us why. For the love of the horse. For generations to come.
If you want to be a part of all the NFL action, no one gets you in the game like FanDuel. This Thursday night when the Eagles take on the Texans, FanDuel is giving all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay. Just place a same-game parlay on Thursday night's game, and if you don't win, you'll get it back in free bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book.
Longines.
He's just the exceptional athlete. He's got all the talent, all the desire.
Coming in, coming in.
He's a spectacular thoroughbred.
He's up.
And there's the roar from the crowd.
Flightline, a superstar.
This was just unbelievable.
Take a good look at this, because you're not going to see this too often, maybe never again.
A horse that breathes a different air compared to his peers.
Flightline, 20 lengths clear.
Well, as much as we all are interested in Flightline, Flavian Pratt has to be one of the most interested of anybody. Flavian, what has this experience been like for you? What are the feelings as you're getting closer and closer to the Classic?
It's been great. I'm really grateful to be part of that experience. It's something as a jockey that you dream of, and try to embrace it. I try to enjoy it as much as I can. There's obviously a lot of expectation, but we'll try to do our best, and it seems like he's doing great, so we'll go from there.
Now that the post positions have been drawn, how do you prepare for the race mentally? Obviously, you've been in this position many times, but how do you map it out? Do you come up with kind of a strategy or a plan and play it out how you think it will occur or how you'd like it to occur?
Yeah, I mean, you obviously have multiple plan and, expectation of how the race is going to set up. Now, to be honest, most of the time it never goes as you plan. But no, I want to keep an open mind. Obviously, a lot of respect for the other runners. And yeah, we'll break and see what happens.
With Life is Good, probably the biggest speed horse in the race, to your inside, does that change how you approach the race? Does that force you to make some decisions early?
I mean, no, I don't think so. I think it's a good thing that he's inside of us. I definitely like him better inside of us than outside. But so, I mean, from that point, like I said, we'll break, we'll see who's breaking well, who's not, and we go from there pretty much.
Talk about what he's like to ride. What is Flightline like? The power, is it something that you can sense right when you get on him?
He's really powerful. I mean, a big hind. When he pushes, it's really powerful. It's light stride, huge stride, and you definitely can feel that the way he moves is different.
It wouldn't be fair to to not mention that you have other very important horses and rides throughout the day. Outside of Flightline, is there any one in particular that you are just really excited about or looking forward to?
Well, I'm really excited to get back on domestic spending after a long layoff, so it's always great to be back on him. I think I'm very busy. I was really impressed the way he won first time out. Then he got beat the other day, but I think he had some excuse. You know, we draw outside. The ground was soft, so I think he could run a good race. There's obviously the 2 years old where, you know, there's always expectation. There's always unknown. So, yeah, I think the 2 years old are probably the one that I'm really excited to be on.
And having a lot to keep you busy and occupied has got to be a good thing with Flightline kind of toward the end of those 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely won't have the time to think about it. So, but it's nice in the meantime. I think as a jockey, you know, it's something that, like I said before, you really dream of, and you have to embrace it.
We wish you a safe and good trip and look forward to seeing you throughout the 2 days of Breeders' Cup, particularly with Flightline.
Thank you.
It's something that jockeys dream of and certainly something that horse players dream of watching as well.
It's just been amazing. We've had a front row seat watching the progression of Flavian Pratt's career into one of the best riders in the world. And I fully expect, I mean, he's young. Is he even 30 yet? I mean, this run might go on for another 15, 20 years.
Not if you'd lift the helmet off his head. A lot of gray hair under there.
He's such a professional, though, and always has been so dedicated to his physical fitness, to his nutrition, to keeping his mental frame, you know, of mind healthy and focused on racing. And not only does he have all the physical attributes, he's so strong, his timing is so excellent, he does his homework, he studies, but I think his instincts are just right so often when it comes to the pace. He's always in the right position, turf or dirt.
I love him because he's, to what you said, he's an absolute pro. I really respect the people that, you know, are good on the track, but you're not going to hear any off-track issues with Flavor. I mean, absolute pro. It's, you know, gallop horses, ride races, go home, repeat, you know, 5 days a week. He's just an absolute total pro.
Simon loves everything about Flavian except his hair.
Yes. Well, at least he's got some.
I was going to let you say that. Speaking of always being in the right position, that's not only a strategy for a jockey, but a horse player as well who plays tournaments. And the winner of the Bcbc last year is standing by with our very own Joaquin Jaime.
Yeah, Mike, that is Matt Miller, who's standing with me here in the paddock at Keeneland Racecourse. He won the Bcbc last year at Del Mar, a $33,000 win bet on Knicks Go when the Classic came through, and they tallied everything for you. You took home over $540,000. Take me to that time last year from the Breeders' Cup turf to the lead-up of the Classic. What was going through your head? Because I'm sure there was a lot of math involved.
Honestly, it wasn't as much as you'd think. I'm a bit of a planner. People in my life know that. Playing Knicks Go with that amount or close to it was the plan all along. And so as I looked at my buddies who I was playing with and talking to the entire day, I think it took a couple minutes after the turf to say, all right, I'm ready to just go do this thing. It's what I went there to do. So it wasn't quite as hard as I had thought. I had a little practice earlier in the day. A big bet on Life is Good required the same kind of guts. So at some point you get used to it. It's a little tough, though.
And you get to go to TaylorMade Farm and see Knicks Go later on today, right?
I cannot believe they're giving me that opportunity. I'm psyched beyond belief. I am still at core a fan of this stuff, and to go meet the horse and, I don't know, feed him an apple or take a picture, it's cool stuff. Very excited.
All right, so you're also a key account holder with us here at TVG. For some of the bigger players out there that are in your shoes and that push a lot through the windows, what has been your betting experience like with us here at TVG?
I'm thrilled to be looking right at my buddy Nick Elievsky right now. He's my account rep, and you guys have a great platform. It's easy to use, and they take care of the players really well. I feel very special playing with them and very well taken care of. So this is not a paid advertisement, but Nick, thanks again for everything, and you guys have been great to play with.
All right, so 14 Breeders' Cup races this year. You're going to be playing in the Bcbc once again. Who are a couple horses that you're going to be having some win bets on? Who do you like this year?
All right, so I do get a fair amount of advice from other people. Pete Fornatel and In the Money, I'm looking at him over there in the paddock area. I've also got a friend, Howard Kravitz, who runs the HHH Racing podcast. Honestly, go listen to these people. They're very good. I know the FanDuel analysts are good too. For me, there's this is a question of which favorites to lean into and which not. Cave Rock, Jackie's Warrior feel very reliable to me, but they're not going to be win bets. And honestly, I haven't figured out my daily double combos around them yet, but that's going to be the plan to build a big bankroll. And I think Flightline's kind of obvious at that point. So it's probably going to take a little bit more than a $33,000 bet to win this one, but Flightline's given me the confidence to do it, so we'll see.
So with the Flightline being in the Breeders' Cup Classic, we know it's the last race. Do you think a lot of players in the BCBC this year are making this maybe a 13-race tournament versus a 14-race tournament, knowing that you're not going to have a whole lot of options in the Classic?
I'll give away some strategy. I think some people are going to be making a mistake. I think they're going to be waiting a little too long in this tournament to make their move. And when you have a massive favorite in the last race and they look at the probable daily double payoffs, I think they're going to be very shocked at how low so many of those pay. And they're going to be kind of stuck at that point with, maybe picking one or maybe not having enough at all. So, yeah, my recommendation, strike early and then just try and protect in the Classic.
So much strategy involved, so much handicapping involved. Matt, we appreciate the time. Good luck to you at the Breeders' Cup this year.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you.
All right, guys, that is Matt Miller. He is looking to repeat in the BCBC this year at Keeneland Racecourse.
Yeah, I talked to Matt for about a half an hour yesterday, and I got his number because he's someone I want to pay
That's a lesson for us all, though, for everybody playing in Breeders' Cup. Strike early, as he says, because it's probably going to get a little chalky late.
You can play the Breeders' Cup as well with FanDuel Racing, and new players can bet the Breeders' Cup with a $100 no-sweat first win bet on FanDuel Racing. That's $100 back if you don't win your first single-horse win bet. Scan the QR code or visit racing.fanduel.com for more details. Warlike Goddess. If I know Simon Bray, I know he's going to extol the virtues of this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I do like this filly. And why is she taking on the boys when there's a filly in turf race? Well, it's the distance this year. They shorten it up at Keeneland to 1 mile 3/16 for the girls, and she gets the 1.5 mile trip. And that's where she excels. It's going to be a big ask for her, but, I mean, she is a model of consistency. She's looked great. She's a very good filly, or mare now, I should say, at the age of 5. And she's looked very healthy here this week. I mean, she just exhibits class there. She looks like a middle distance grass horse. And I mean, the question with her, Christina, is, can she take another step forward, or does she need to?
I think she does need to take a little step forward to compete with some of the Euros that are in here. But she's a perfect 5 for 5 at the distance. She's 2 for 2 here at Keeneland. This is the place for her to try to run in a race like this against the boys over a track that she loves, over a distance that she loves. Bye Bye Melvin to her inside will probably be on the lead. She'll drop back a touch, and we'll see where she ends up as far as the pace goes.
Yeah, look at her, how she is here, aggressive down the backside. She's doing very, very well here, right? And she's coming in this race in good shape. Be a popular victory for George Kokorian, who spends, part of his time here at his farm here in Lexington. He owns the Lex Live building downtown right next to Rupp Arena, and of course based in California as well. But you couldn't be happier if you're Bill Mott and the team looking at that.
Good strong gallop, and true to the stamina that she has, out on the racetrack. She looks like she could keep going. You could send her 3 or 4 laps around there. You would not tire her out. She's a daughter of English Channel, and I say it all the time. These horses just keep getting better and better with age.
She absolutely has a chance to hit the board, I think.
Just hit the board?
I'm in the top 3, I think they'd be very happy with that.
Beginning of the week, it was Blue Stripe, Blue Stripe, Blue Stripe. Mike Welsh of the Daily Racing Form, one of the best clockers in the business, bar none. Very impressed by her earlier in the week. Look, she's up against it. You could say outside of facing Flightline in the toughest race of the weekend.
She's still, picture of health out there, strong, still training very well, but she's never seen competition like this. She came from Argentina with a strong resume. She was 4 for 6 at that point. She's won a pair of races out in Southern California, the Grade 2 Santa Margarita, the Grade 1 Clement L. Hirsch, but that was against horses like Desert Dawn. She Dares the Devil was kind of tailing off a little bit at that point. She's faced some good horses, but she has not taken on the Malathots, the Ness, the Clariers since last year's Distaff, where she was 7th.
She was 53-1 in that race last year. It was her first start in the country at that point, so there's room for her to move forward, but we fast forward the clock a year. She's won 2 out of 3 races, and she's still going to be 25-1.
And Andy Biancone is standing by right now with Marcelo Polanco.
Hey guys, I'm here with Marcelo Polanco. We just watched Blue Stripe gallop around with Hector Barrios in the irons. Marcelo, how long has this filly been training at Keeneland? She's been here a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, we came on the 23rd, Sunday, and the next day we got him back in the track, and we give a little work on Wednesday.
She was very impressive in the Clement El Hirsch. I remember that was probably one of my favorite races of the Del Mar meet. How excited are you about this race coming up, and what developments have you seen in her over the past couple weeks?
The best thing about her, she can acclimatize to the situation anywhere, to the new track. She always been that way. She's so professional to do anything.
And she ran in the Breeders' Cup Distaff last year, but that was her first run in America. How do you feel like she's changed from then to now?
Well, it seems like a mature, and actually she looks so much bigger and much beautiful. She looks so amazing. It's nice to have been and get into this place in the right physical statement.
I see Hector Barrios was actually galloping her today. Do you feel like it's a big advantage to have your jockey come and gallop your horse in the morning?
Well, Hector been getting on since Del Mar, and they do get along. And plus today, I asked him if he wanted to gallop it that way. He feel how she feels the track, and so that he get a little more into the race in a good sense.
Thank you so much, Marcelo. Really looking forward to seeing Blue Stripe this weekend.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.
An interesting horse. Definitely one to use underneath.
And for Marcelo Polanco, I mean, he keeps a very small barn. He's
Right.
only had 29 starters this year, 3 victories. They're all in stakes races. His 3 victories, 2 of them have come from her.
Okay, we saw Aiden's Army on the track. We saw Aiden's Army in the paddock. Right now, Caton Bradar is standing by with the commander of said army.
Happy to be joined by Aiden O'Brien, who gives us a little bit of his time on a busy, busy morning. Horses just schooled in the paddock. Talk us through the decision to do this and how they handled it.
Yeah, handled we think very well. They did a canter, did a trot at a 3/4 of a lap first, and then set off at the winning post, and they did a, we call a steady canter around, and kind of the canter kept building as they went past the winning post. They slowly pulled up, turned around and came back in, and just came into the paddock and did 2 rounds, just relaxed. It's really we were just trying to add a little bit to their routine every day, and this was another step up we felt from yesterday. So they seem to be in good form, and everyone seems happy with him. And just gone back down to the barn now, so they'll get a warm wash off and walk off, and hopefully that'll be their morning's work done.
And in terms of handling the experience, the climate change, and all the other variables, are there any horses that you were concerned about that now are showing that they have handled it? And vice versa, anybody that is just really excelling?
No, yeah, we're very happy with the horses. We think they're very fit this year physically, and their minds seem to be in a very good place. You obviously strive to get them into that position every year, but sometimes it doesn't happen, and sometimes it happens, and it's just happening naturally so far this year. Obviously, our horses have chances. I don't think any of them are real big favourites, but they have chances, and they're very fit, and we think they're in a good place. So we're looking forward to seeing them run. Like, if you ask me which ones would we be happy with or not happy, I'd have to say at the moment everyone seems happy with them, and looking at them we are happy. So hopefully they run well.
One last question. Order of Australia, obviously the horse we're probably most familiar with given his success. How does this year compare to the last time we saw him here?
Yeah, no, much better. Obviously got injured last year, and then his programme and build-up was everything towards this race this year. And we have been careful not to tighten the screw too tight in any race, but every race went by, the screw has been tightened a little bit more. He came to Keeneland here the last day for a trial for Saturday. We were very happy with that, and we have turned the screw another couple of notches since then, and we think he has responded. He's very professional, honest, genuine horse, and we're really looking forward to seeing him run.
Well, we're glad to have them back. They've been a pleasure to watch. Thanks so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And Aiden's Army horses are always one of the highlights of the Breeders' Cup.
You know, as many international racing events as I've covered, I've never actually had the chance to interview Aidan O'Brien.
It's really intimidating. I have.
Yeah.
And there are so many horses that I think for us, too, kind of coming in and trying to assess the European form and then catalog all those questions in your brain, you know you're not as sharp as he is.
Okay.
It's hard to keep up.
Next time you interview him, and I'll do the same for you, you do the same for me, we'll have cue cards right behind the camera and hold them up, okay?
Yes.
Order of Australia.
Yes.
And just kind of like go through like that so you know what to ask.
Done.
Right now, Rishi Prasad getting his Kentucky on. There's nothing more Kentucky than bourbon, and there he is with a little bottle of Maker's Mark.
Yeah, I've just about digested the beef jerky from earlier on, so I need something to wash it all down. So I've been told that this Maker's Mark Kentucky Straight Bourbon, is that I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly or not, but here we go. I'm going to try this. I don't know how much I should pour in, but here we go. Bottoms up.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, here he goes.
No.
Here he goes.
No. Oh. It's the best part of the morning so far. Oh, that's nice.
Oh,
I like this bourbon thing.
Yeah, the bourbon here is the best in the world. In fact, it's not bourbon unless it's made in the Commonwealth here of Kentucky.
Oh, of course, yes. That's what I imagine. Excuse me. A little bit too much.
Oh,
But
yeah.
cheers.
If it goes down the wrong way, it can burn a little. But don't worry, it'll be burning your brain in about 20 minutes here.
The cats, the bourbon, horses, that's all he needs.
Rishi, you don't have
Go for the cats.
Go for the
Yeah, go for the. You don't have a rent-a-car, I hope, right? You got someone driving you back to the hotel.
I mean, naturally, it was part of my contract that I'd have someone driving me.
Yeah. In his contract, that someone was me. I picked him up in a Dodge Ram pickup truck.
It's been shared out between Scott, Christina, and now you, Mike.
Hey, look, at least I could be useful in some respect. And
He's going back for more.
Oh, yeah.
Champ.
It's nice. It's really nice.
No, I know. By the end of the show,
Make
you'll
us
be drinking
laugh.
that out of a brown paper bag on the sidewalk. All right. Rishi
like this.
Prasad getting the full experience.
Kentucky
here.
experience.
Yeah.
It's a good sport.
A true Kentuckian, his golden pal, was out on the racetrack. He took Kentucky to Royal Ascot in the past, and here's a look at him. This is perhaps, I don't want to say the best horse that Wesley Ward's ever trained, because I can't think of one better.
He says that.
Yes, but
I think you can.
Okay, I'll go ahead and say it because he said it. This just, what a fantastic Breeders' Cup winner at 2, Breeders' Cup winner at 3, and he's going to be odds on to be a Breeders' Cup winner at 4.
Right here over his home track. He's 4 for 4 here at the Keeneland, over the Keeneland turf course. He's 8 for 11 at the distance and 8 for 12 at lifetime. He's so fast. He is so fast from the gate. And he's just been a professional all week. Wesley really keeps his horses here at Keeneland, partly for, obviously the races that he points to here, but also the overall environment. They're able to turn out a lot. They're able to just be like horses. He's able to simulate as much of a training facility-like experience, and you see that reflected in their coat, in their demeanor, in their behavior, and in their performances on the racetrack.
Yeah, advantage. I mean, it's a home game for him, so big advantage. Proven over the track, undefeated. I mean, what more can you say? Heavy favorite and a deserved one.
There is Golden Pal. We are going to take a break. We got about 33 minutes left on our final breakfast show. When we return here on FanDuel TV, we'll take a closer look at some of the contenders and wrap up a week's worth of some of the best TV you've ever seen.
It's time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win. The NBA is back, and with FanDuel, this season's looking better than ever. Because right now, new customers get a no-sweat first bet and get up to $1,000 back in free bets if you don't win. Plus, all customers get 3 months of NBA League Pass with a $5 bet from America's #1 sportsbook. That's right. Not only do you get a no-sweat first bet, you can also watch NBA League Pass on us. Make every moment more with FanDuel.
TVG's free handicapping tools are at your fingertips. Access expert picks, both found on the app and at TVG.com. Find selections in either the promotions header, under the More tab, or on the race page for select races. And follow your experts to get notified when new picks are available. Then use the bet ticket to play along. Check out TVG's expert picks, both on the app and at tvg.com.
At Calumet Farm, we're proud to offer proven stallions to fit every breeder's needs. With over 72 million in progeny winnings on dirt and turf, our diverse roster is producing the champions of today and tomorrow. Calumet Farm, a legacy reborn.
Welcome back to Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Our final show, just about 30 minutes left to go as we wrap up here and head into Future Stars Friday. Right now, Kate and Bradar is standing by with a very special guest. Stone Street will be well represented throughout the Breeders' Cup with their runners, but of course Barbara Benke, also chairman of the board for the Breeders' Cup, so very instrumental in executing the big event this weekend.
Barbara Benke of Stone Street Stables has more than a passing interest in this year's Breeders' Cup. If she doesn't own the horses directly, you've probably been involved with the breeding or the sires. Barbara, first, let's talk about Campanile, horse who I've been kind of keeping my eye on off that win at Kentucky Downs. Your thoughts coming in?
Well, she's training like a bear. She's training really, really well. And she's a very powerful filly and has a lot of drive and grit. So it's going to be a very fun and tough race. Frankie's come in to ride her, and I think it's going to be really fun to watch.
Frankie, what does he bring to the table? What is that like to have him aboard?
Well, he's been on her, and he knows her. He loves her. And when I couldn't go over for her Queen Mary win in 2020, he was there, and that was good. So I think he'll take good care of her around the track, and he knows what kind of horse she is.
You kind of cover the spectrum as far as participants because you have the seasoned Clarier in the Distaff, and you have Love Reigns in the juvenile turf sprint. Love Reigns kind of the new shooter in the group. Let's start with that one.
Yes, Love Reigns. She went to Ascot too. She sort of got bumped around, came in fourth. I think she actually was pushed down a spot because of bumping. But she's a very fast filly. And so I think that's going to be an exciting race as well. And it's a very tough race. A lot of competition, full field. It'll be exciting to watch.
And Clarier, talking about tough fields, enters the very tough Distaff in what I think is one of the deepest renditions we've had of it in quite some time. She's a little bit under the radar, I think, because of the power in that race, but it seems to me she's training exceptionally well, and Steve sounds very bullish about her.
Yeah, she's training very, very well, and of course she has beat Malathot twice. I bred Malathot, and Malathot is a great horse, so I'm looking forward to that matchup, and then of course Ness, so we have three Curlin fillies in that race. And it's going to be a tough, tough race.
I know that the passion of seeing your own horses run and win is one particular experience, but when you see horses that are by Curlin, and he's so well represented in this year's edition and so many editions of these big races, what is that like for you?
Well, it's very exciting. We have 7 Curlins during the 2 days, and really good stories with Cody's Wish in the mile. That's a very, very nice story, and I'm really wishing him well. And in the juvenile fillies, of course, 3 in the Distaff, and I'm forgetting somebody, but
so many horses. That's a good thing.
Yes. Oh, there's the really good obligatory in the sprint, in the filly sprint. Yeah.
It's always a pleasure. We wish you the best of luck and the rest of the way with the Breeders' Cup experience, Barbara.
Thank you so much, and good luck to everyone.
Barbara Benke with Stone Street. And again, if she's not having her own interests, she's probably involved in the breeding or the matchup or the sale of one of the others in the race.
The impact that Stone Street and Barbara Benke have had on the sport, it cannot be overstated.
Yeah, well, we're looking at it right there with the Distaff, talking about all the offspring of Curlin as those 3 heavy hitters in the division. I do think Love Reigns is really interesting in the turf sprint for them. I think she has a huge opportunity. Here we have a chance to look back at Curlin's Breeders' Cup back in 2007 in the mud there at Monmouth Park. Such a champion. Was very excited to be there that day. And not only has he had the influence as far as these horses go that are competing this year, but as a sire of Good Magic, we're seeing a lot of his offspring compete in the Breeders' Cup. So the line is carrying on that much more as a sire of sires in Curlin.
That was my first Breeders' Cup I ever went to, was 2007 at Monmouth. The only problem was the rain. It could have been one of the best Breeders' Cups ever. They put on such a good show. Everything about it. But if you remember, I used the Mattel Electronics horse race handicapper from 1979 to handicap the Classic, and it gave me Curlin.
Do you still have it?
Yeah, I still have it.
Did you bring it?
I didn't bring it on this trip. Maybe if next year at Santa Anita we can use it. But yeah, the offspring of Curlin have been dominant for so long. It's hard to believe that that was 15 years ago.
Yeah. Well, then she mentioned they bred Malathot, who's owned by Shadwell. But that mare that's there, Streaming of Julia, we saw earlier in the Keeneland meet, Julia Shining.
Yeah.
The pedigree is continuing. That beautiful line that now Stone Street campaigning, Julia Shining. I'm sure we'll see her, hopefully, in the Breeders' Cup in years to come.
All right, let's check out some more horses on the track here as we have on the turf course right now. This is Pogo. He's going to be in the Breeders' Cup mile, drawn toward the inside in that race. And Pogo, well, he's actually on the rail, I should say, toward the inside. He is the inside.
Charlie Hill's the conditioner of Pogo, the 6-year-old son of Zebedee. He is an 8-time winner in 36 starts. James Doyle will have the mount. He's just taking a good look around on the turf course. You see this a lot with horses when they're getting over a new surface and in a new environment. Ears straight forward, just really curious about what is in front of him and what he's looking at. It all looks different as he steps on to the Keeneland turf course today. So this is important for him to become somewhat familiar with his surroundings. He's well in control. His coat looks great. You can see just how shiny he is. That's a good mark of how well he has shipped. And his weight looks good as well. Nice little gallop just to become familiar with the course here for Pogo.
So that's Pogo in the mile. We have Flotus on the track. This was earlier for the turf sprint. This is actually just a moment ago as we take a look at Flotus. And they're going to let her open up a little bit.
Simon Crisford conditions the daughter of Star Spangled Banner. She's been behind Highfield Princess a few times in her races, but she does have some tactical speed, which bodes well for her coming up against the Americans in the turf sprint. She'll position herself closer. You can see right when she switched leads, that's when they go ahead and let her open up her stride. The rider just kind of loosening his grip on the reins there, leaning down just a touch, lets her go ahead and get a nice big fluid gallop. Good lead switch right through the cones there, through to the dogs, and then a nice gallop into the turn. He'll probably throttle her down right now, but just kind of stretch those legs, open up those lungs, make sure she is sharp and ready for the turf sprint.
Yeah, she's another magnificent looking one. She's up against it with, you know, the turf sprint looking like Golden Pal's race to lose. So that was moments ago, and nice to see her kick away a little bit. That's this point in the game, we don't get to see too much of that, as a lot of the major preparations have already been made, but she got to kick it into gear a little bit down the stretch there. Foresight of what we're going to see a little bit later on. This is Highfield Princess, also in the turf sprint.
I think of the Europeans, she's probably their best chance coming into the turf sprint this year. She comes in 3 consecutive victories, all in Group 1 competition. And overall, the daughter of Knight of Thunder has just been a machine. She's 12 for 30 lifetime. She looks like she's in her career best form as well. She's earning some fast figures over soft ground, over good to firm ground. She could be that much better, that much faster over a firmer course here at Keeneland. We heard a piece earlier this week on the Breakfast Show with John Quinn talking about his daughters, all of his granddaughters. He said our entire crew, yes, everybody, is descending upon Keeneland. So we hope they've made the journey and they're here to enjoy Future Stars Friday with Highfield Princess. We heard from her, Jockey, earlier on the show today. She needs to break well. She needs to break sharp because you know Golden Pal will. And she needs to be as tactical as possible if she wants to run him down.
I have a great Wesley Ward story about why all his horses are so good at age 2 and in turf sprints. So there was a day at Gulfstream Park. I won't tell you who told me this story, but there was a trainer who had to go back out to Palm Meadows or Palm Beach Downs, whichever one Wesley was stabled at. Wesley actually had like several horses in that day, and he wasn't at the track. So he goes to Palm Beach Downs or Palm Meadows or wherever, and there's nobody there except for Wesley. And he's sitting there in a lawn chair next to the gate with his feet on a cooler, having some cocktails, and just teams of 2-year-olds going into the gate and popping out. Let's go to Andy Biancone.
We're here with Jason, who is the regular rider of Highfield Princess. Jason, how did you feel across the turf course today?
Yeah, good. Just like exercise, but I liked how alert she was, and fingers crossed.
How do you feel like she's adjusted to being here at Keeneland?
Yeah, she's taken everything in her stride, and Con says she's eating well and she's drinking well, so I think that's the main thing.
Do you think she appreciates the turf course here?
Obviously, we just went a sort of steady canter around there this morning, so she's won on turns at home, all types of grounds as well, so we'll see how we go.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing her this weekend. Thank you.
Highfield Princess, and a word from the rider's mouth. So we have been enjoying the Kentuckification of Rishi Prasad today, and there's no better place to send him than the track kitchen. So you're waiting in line, Rishi? What are you doing?
Yeah, I was just waiting in line with a couple of friends that I've just met here, and they're correcting my pronunciation of the word bourbon. It's bourbon. Bourbon. Yeah, now I feel like an idiot. Thank you for that.
Well, I'm glad that they were there to correct you.
To be honest, I can... Yeah, they did correct me. But to be honest, it doesn't really matter how you say it. It's how you drink it.
Ah.
And I do enjoy that. So I'm now lining up for something to eat. What do you recommend I order?
So it's not necessarily what you order. It's how you order it, right? And I want to help you. I don't want you to have any more mispronunciations. Okay, so you're just going to just listen to what I say and then repeat it, okay? That's all you have to do.
This is risky.
You're going to say,
you know.
This is what you're going to say. You're going to say, all right, Pard, I need a hot brown, and I like that hotter than a Hemi in a drag race, so make sure you pile it on steamy.
Wow. You're going to have to say that again, Mike, because... So say it again.
Okay. Say, hey, Pard.
Yeah. Hey, Pard.
I need a hot brown.
That's a good start.
I need a hot brown.
I need a hot brown.
And I like it hotter than a Hemi in a drag race.
And I'd like it hotter than a Hemi in a drag race, please. I'm so sorry. Can you say that one more time?
I said we can't get that for you because we ain't got no turkey, but I can get you biscuits and gravy if you want.
Biscuits and gravy, I heard that.
So your response is, well, I ain't had biscuits and gravy in a month of Sundays.
I ain't had biscuits and gravy in many Sundays. No. Is that... Do you understand what I'm saying?
You're real close, but you ain't there yet, my friend.
Okay. I haven't had biscuits and gravy in such a long time.
In a month of Sundays.
That's it. I'll have some bacon and some potatoes and some scrambled eggs and hot browns. What's a hot brown?
Brown is turkey, ham, mornay, which is a cheese sauce, shredded cheese on toast.
Wow.
Tomato and bacon.
Do you have any bourbon?
Bourbon? We've got bourbon glaze on the bread pudding.
Okay. Is this mine? Oh, wow. This is all mine? All right.
So say...
Oh, yes, some scrambled egg would be lovely. Thank you.
Okay, now as you walk away, say, appreciate it, ma'am. Say hi to your mom and M's.
Oh, no.
Okay. Appreciate it, ma'am. Say hi to your mum and M's.
That refers to her mother and her peer group, mom and M's.
Mum and M. Mum and M.
Yeah. And
Does
if
anybody here understand what I'm saying? No, I don't understand either. Apparently, I talk funny.
Yeah. Well, if anybody says the words "jontsmore" to you, that means, do you want more food on your plate?
Jocksmore?
Jontsmore. Like jontsmore?
Wow, this is a big... Oh, do you want some... Oh, I can eat it all. You'd be surprised.
All right. Rishi Prasad, go the Cats. Fantastic
Is this the
work.
bourbon counter?
Yeah, they have, much like they have the dispensing machines for soda in some states, here in Kentucky, you can just get bourbon from the fountain.
He might never leave if that's the case.
Yeah, all right, let's... this truly is breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. This is actually, and I will say this, the track kitchen that Rishi is eating in right now, top 5 track kitchens in the world.
I agree. And it looks like a good good full breakfast. What was it? The full English breakfast?
Full English breakfast. One thing about
Full
Rishi,
English?
he's never met a breakfast he didn't like.
And he's very
That's so true.
Oh, you needed some baked beans, Rishi.
No. Baked beans are too British.
Okay, so we've got the Kentuckification of Rishi Prasad, and you're right. I don't think he's ever going to leave. And I did pick him up. The reason I said hotter than a Hemi, I did pick him up. I got my rental car's a pickup with a Hemi.
Oh
yeah. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. We're full 9 yards here on this production. Right now, let's check in with Joaquin Jaime.
And Mike, thank you very much. I'm here with the Hall of Famer Johnny Velasquez, who has 18 Breeders' Cup wins on his resume. That's only second all-time behind Hall of Famer Mike Smith, who has 27. 10 Breeders' Cup rides for you this year, Johnny. I talked to John Terranova at the barn earlier this year. You mentioned that you worked the Juvenile Fillies runner, You're My Girl. What'd you feel in those workouts with her?
She actually worked really, really nice both times she worked here. So she seems to like the track, and she's doing really well. She seems to be very fit as well. I let her gallop out really well. So I'm pretty happy with her. So I think if she can run, step up a little bit, so she has a really good chance, yeah.
And in looking at Saturday, just to touch on a couple of them, Smooth Like Straight in the FanDuel Mile. He's run so many big races, but it doesn't have a whole lot of wins in the win column. What are you going to try to do to get Smooth Like Straight with his nose down on the wire first?
That's a tough one, though, because it's like he's always really close to win something, though. I think if he puts all his effort to win it, though, we have a good chance. Obviously, he's a horse going to be 1, 2, 3 in the first part of the race, so I'm going to try to save him the best I can for the last part of the race, and hopefully that will work out better for us in the end of the race.
One of the best races this year in the Breeders' Cup is the Breeders' Cup Distaff. What do you think of the competition this year? You're aboard Mal at that, but what do you think of the competition as a whole this year in the Breeders' Cup Distaff?
It's a really close competition with all of them. Obviously, there's a couple horses that we kind of beat each other. Mal, that's always very consistent. I think if she can come with her game, basically, I think we can beat them. Yeah.
I still have a whole lot of preparation and handicapping to do as we get closer to Friday and Saturday. What is your preparation like? 10 rides in the Breeders' Cup this year. Take me through your preparation and how you prepare handicapping these races that you're riding in.
Well, it's a lot of work, obviously, and you guys do the same thing as a handicap. For me, I had to handicap a little bit different because as horses, I had to start planning where I want to be. I mean, obviously, I had to have a little bit with the trainer where they like to see the horse running. And then I have to study the other horses. And I don't want to be behind a horse that's coming back into my face, who I'm going to be following, and then the horse to beat. So now you have to concentrate. But in my way, I picked 3 horses. What are the 3 horses to beat? So those are the 3 horses I'm going to really pay attention to the most. Yeah. And the ones that I think they have not much chance, well, I always got in my back of my head just because anything can happen on the races. But I always pick 3 horses. So where the horses, the best horses in the race, and where they're going to be, and where I like to be, and hopefully I'm in the right place to where I can get ahead of the time, before they get to me. Yeah.
Thank you, Johnny. Have a great Breeders' Cup this year.
Thank you.
All right, guys, we'll go back to you.
John Velasquez is quite simply the best jockey in the world, and I think regardless of surface configuration, where they're riding, he's won more money than anybody else in the history of this game, and at this point in his career, he's still riding at a super high level.
And he also just gives so much of his time with the PDJF, with different Jockey's Guild, the boards. He really uses his knowledge, his experience to try and better the experience for all the other riders.
Yeah, we're running out of time here, only about 12 minutes. How about Malavath, who we'll see stretching her legs just a few moments ago? She's going to be going postward in the filly and mare turf. This is a look at her on the racetrack. Tyler Gaffleone picking up the mount as this filly was last in the Prix de la Forêt, finishing second under Christophe Soumillon.
Second to Kinross on that occasion. She picks up Tyler Gaffleone here in the States, and the daughter of Maymas coming in off a second-place effort in the Prix de la Forêt last out.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good effort last time out behind Kinross. I mean, Kinross needs soft ground. But I think that was a good effort behind Kinross last time out. But, we've watched her. I think this is the second time we've seen her here this week, and she's looked very, very good. I mean, Tyler Gaffleone, I like the fact. Sometimes I think it's good to employ an American rider on some of these European horses coming over for the first time. I really believe in that.
That was actually an angle from years ago, was the European horse with the American jockey.
Yeah.
You look at the meet that he had here at Keeneland, too. I mean, he rides this turf course as well as anybody. He's such a strong finisher also. And she has a lot of size to her for an offspring of Maymus. Usually they're a little bit smaller, a little bit more handy, but she's got some good size to her that you can see why she, is just so athletic out there. Nice, big, open gallop. She looks very sound, hitting the ground well. Looking forward to what she can do. She's 3 for 10 lifetime. She's 3. She's lightly raced. This will be the firmest ground that she's caught since the first 2 starts of her career back in France.
And I think she's going to be in a good, I watched one of her races earlier this year, and I think she's in a good tracking position. She won't be one of those that parked out the back. Obviously, I don't think she'll be in the front, but, it'd be in a perfect spot turning for home, I think.
Yeah, Malibu. I said Filly Mare Turf. This is obviously for the mile. She was second in the juvenile Fillies Turf a year ago to Pizza Bianca. Pizza Bianca, one of the best stories of Breeders' Cup weekend last year, and our best employment of the jockey cam of all time. We are going to take our final break here on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. We've been showing you lots of Breeders' Cup. Rishi Prasad showing you breakfast. He got his order in. I'm actually a little disappointed he didn't get the hot brown. But
more bourbon.
It's biscuits and gravy, not bourbon and gravy, but it's break time more so than anything else. We'll be back. Final segment on Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup coming up after this.
Consistently versatile with 25 Grade 1 winners on every surface from 6 furlongs to 1 1/4 miles all over the world.
Switzerland in the Dubai Golden Shaheen. Switzerland wins.
Churls Fight running on. Mason in front. Churls Fight on the outside. At the wire. Photo for the win.
Olympiad gets the gold in the Jockey Club Gold Cup.
All purpose, all places, all power. Speightstown.
The best 2-year-old by legendary sire Quality Road.
In the back, $1.5 million.
Very, very impressive debut. Cantering home could not have been more impressive.
Coast to coast in the American Pharaoh. He's the real deal.
Undefeated and unchallenged at 2.
He's just too good. He wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile.
Corniche, the newest champion to Coolmore, America.
This is a Kentucky thoroughbred. This is a Kentucky-built Powerfoil industrial fan. Like a thoroughbred, it too delivers unrivaled performance. And while they both run with purpose and pride, this one runs to keep your workforce feeling cool and comfortable. Powerfoil, the best-selling big fan in the world. BigFans.com. Exceptionally engineered.
Sire Sensation Gunrunner is the sire of 6 first crop Grade 1 winners.
God-eyed, and he's going to win the hopeful.
Red Zulu wins the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies.
And Cyberknife has one that has the...
Society is going to win the Cotillion. And Tina, they win the Bat Parks, Pennsylvania Derby. Early voting comes inside and wins it. He wins the Preakness.
Horse of the Year, Gunrunner, standing at 3 chimneys.
Dream Storm to win the Rico Woodbine Mile.
She's going to do it. Simple Verse has won the Ledger.
Snake Neck Spear and Sheen Murphy get through and have won.
It's getting really tight. The star of the season, drawing line.
The purple cap, Kamiko the far side of him. Kamiko's won. On the midline, Mongostina has just won it with Mosse.
Ocean Road after going to Vegas. Ocean Road.
Warfront. This son of Danzig ranks among the world's elite sires, ranked #1 by percentage of stakes winners, graded stakes winners, and Grade 1 winners. No stallion has a better strike rate. Warfront is the sire of over 100 lifetime stakes winners, including some of the sport's most talented runners both at home and abroad. In the auction ring, his progeny continue to command top dollar. Warfront, standing at Claiborne Farm.
He's just the exceptional athlete. He's got all the talent, all the desire.
Coming in.
He's a spectacular thoroughbred.
He's up.
And there's the roar from the crowd.
Flightline, a superstar.
This was just unbelievable.
take a good look at this, because you're not going to see this too often, maybe never again.
A horse that breathes a different air compared to his peers.
Flightline, 20 lengths clear.
It is a weekend of champions and a weekend of stars, but there is no bigger star, make no doubt about it, than Flightline. He has been the star of stars throughout this week leading up, and it looks like he will be the biggest star of the weekend as well.
He's the show, and so far he has really delivered and, blew us all away in the TVG Pacific Classic. Hopefully we get to see something like that. By all accounts, so his training is pointing to another race like that.
Oh, no question, and the training has been the key for him. I mean, we're obviously based out on the West Coast. We've seen him a lot, and the talk about him going into his first race, I mean, it's not like he ran and surprised everybody. The talent's been there from the get-go, $1 million yearling. And I've just loved the progression that I've seen for him over the last 18 months, 2 years. And if you go ahead and play the work, his most recent work here at Keeneland, everybody's seen it, and throw it up in a comparison with what we saw, almost a year ago, March of last year, a very different animal. Let's freeze it right here. If we freeze it right here, you can see the difference. Look at Juan Leiva, the rider here on the left. Feet in the dashboard, hands up. He's getting very aggressive. Current situation here on the right-hand side of the screen, weight shifted forward, horse is listening to his cues. He looks like a much different animal to me. He's developed, and that's what I think made him a good racehorse, Mike. He's learned his lessons. Maybe if he exhibited what we're seeing on the left-hand box here today, maybe he wouldn't have developed and had the ability to stretch out to 1.25 miles, but I think he's learned his lessons well. John Sadler's done a tremendous job with him. I think being lightly raced has helped him. And this is just a great example of a horse developing over time.
You mentioned John Sadler getting this horse at this stage in his career. Christina, just the patience he's had to have with this horse and those 25-plus years of training under his belt has really served him well.
Really has. And also to be able to make the decisions that he has, to take his time, to space out his races. Even the decision to go from the 1-turn mile in the Met Mile to the 2-turn 1.25 miles, I think earlier in your career you might be hesitant to make a move that dramatic, but he knew what he had. He knew the type of talent that this horse had and that he was going to be up to a challenge like that.
Yeah, and it's been John Sadler's task to get him to relax. You saw how aggressive he was there when he had 2 horses in front of him. He still shows that aggressiveness when he has a target to run at, but he's much more manageable now.
So let's take a look at where you can watch the Breeders' Cup World Championships this Friday and Saturday. FanDuel TV bringing you coverage of every single race here from Keeneland on Friday, November 4th for Future Stars Friday and the undercard. And then our friends at USA Network will bring you all the graded stakes and, of course, the 5 Breeders' Cup races. On Saturday, a little bit different, FanDuel TV will bring you every race except for the Longines Breeders' Cup Classic. You can watch that with our friends at NBC, but we will also bring you the Fall Harvest Stakes, that final race. So FanDuel TV and FanDuel Plus bringing you all the action for both days of the Breeders' Cup Championship. Can't believe I'm going to say it, but that's a wrap on the Breakfast of the Breeders' Cup show.
It is by far the most fun show that we all get to be a part of every year.
For Joaquin, Scott, Rishi, Michelle, Caton, Todd Schrupp, of course, Simon Bray, and Christina Blacker, it has been an honor and a privilege to be here with these great equine athletes. We couldn't be happier. The biggest star of the weekend, it's going to be Flightline, but it is a weekend, one we shall never forget. The 3rd time in history that the Breeders' Cup comes to Kentucky. Rishi Prasad might stay. They're going to give him his Commonwealth ID in just a few moments. Thanks for joining us here. Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup. Enjoy the Breeders' Cup World Championships tomorrow and Saturday here at Keeneland. And a little bourbon will go a long way over the next 48 hours.
On FanDuel Casino, we make it easy to turn your site credit into real money. Unlike other casinos who make you wager your site credit over and over before you can withdraw it, we play fair. Just play through it once and you keep what you win. Turning all your site credit into real cash is that simple. Plus, you'll get paid your way.
It's time to bet the race, and FanDuel Racing has entered the starting gate. Download the FanDuel Racing app, and you're off. It's super easy to use from the start. Make every moment more with tools to help you win on the inside. Watch out for great promos and easy deposits. And here comes fast payouts. It's super easy to use. It's fast payouts. It's super easy. There's no doubt about it. The best place to bet is FanDuel Racing.
New customers bet the Breeders' Cup and get up to $100 back if your horse doesn't win.